So this one's up too, and yeah, this one's up already. So it's the 27th January 2019, Sunday 7:33. Yeah, seems fine. Anyway, hello. You said the thing about the Holland being different from the Netherlands. Before we go into that, I always ask people two questions. What is the reason you are in Latvia? What brings you to Latvia? And what are your impressions so far?
Should I start with the first one then?
Yep.
Well, basically, I graduated 2 months ago, and holidays. So, what I did, I bought an Interrail ticket. Maybe you've heard of it. I'm not sure. Do you know what the Interrail ticket is?
Interrail?
Yes.
Sounds like
train. Yeah, exactly. So basically, it's a European train ticket, and
really.
But you buy it, and then you can basically take any train you want in Europe. And
really?
With it you can travel around.
Also in Latvia?
Well, that's the thing, because Latvia is not really well connected to Estonia and Lithuania by train. So basically, because I left about 20 days ago, a bit more than about 3 weeks. So I went to see friends around Europe, and I also wanted to go to Latvia because I studied here a few years ago for Erasmus, so I wanted to also include Latvia in the journey. So I did not come here by train, but I took a bus from Warsaw. That was so. So yeah, that's basically what brings me here. I mean.
So you are actually already with some impressions when you were studying here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So any difference? Anything new?
With respect to back then. No, I would say many things are pretty much the same still.
How many years ago was your studies?
So it was maybe 3 to 4 years ago that I was here.
Yeah, not so long ago.
For half a year it was. So.
And what did you study?
Here I did basically I can choose any courses I wanted to, and did some courses at RTU for computer science.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, it was a very nice experience. It was also basically the first time that I went abroad for, let's say, a longer period of time, because it was half a year. So it left me quite some good impressions and experiences. Yeah.
So now you graduated as a computer engineer? Scientist?
No, that's not my focus.
That
was also bachelor. So then you specialize. What I did after, I went for masters and studied two things basically: geodesy and geophysics.
Oh, that's
so
totally. Sounds almost totally random. Geodesics?
Yeah, geodesics. Yeah, the geodesy, and So my this computer science is a bit random. The story becomes a bit twisted now, but so I started off with earth science, so that's why also for masters I went in that direction.
Sounds interesting, to be honest. Sounds really interesting. And so now we get into the part where you said the Netherlands is not really the same as Holland, but Holland is just the most famous word for the Netherlands.
Yeah, I think if you say Holland, everybody knows just like that. Okay, where are you from? No.
And is there a difference?
Well, basically Holland, as I've been told, and also makes a lot of sense to me, there are 12 provinces in the Netherlands, and one of them is called North Holland, and the other one is called South Holland. And together, this is Holland. So basically, Holland is only
just
two provinces
out of
together.
12.
Yeah.
Right.
But generally, people are fine with it because name any city from the Netherlands and probably it's within Holland. So Amsterdam, The Hague, Rotterdam.
Actually, I don't know anymore. True.
Yeah, they're all in Holland. So
how come?
Well, it's
the most populated area.
It's where the most cities are. Yeah, it's
all right.
But of course, there are still many other cities which are equally interesting, but not in Holland. But anyway, for me, it doesn't matter so much whatever you say. It's clear what you mean. So.
Well, that's interesting because I never heard of it somehow. I don't know why. But you know what? I always tell people, because I have a lot of people around, right? So I meet a lot of foreigners, and I guess always I say Dutch people are the best people in the world if I compare nations with one another, right? So I hope you won't let me down this evening.
Well, wait, you have to expand a bit on that.
But I remembered that actually there was one thing that I was a little bit curious about, and that was what's up with the trance and techno music over there, because that's big, right?
Yeah. Well, techno, in terms of reputation, is more something for Germany, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. The trance and this dance and yeah, it got really big in the Netherlands.
So what's up with that? Because I'm not sure whether or not I would be able to endure a big rave without any drugs, to be honest. Is it related? Is it related to the drug culture, or is it just something that might occur together but not necessarily?
Surely you can do with and without, and then drugs.
Well,
they elevate the experience.
Yeah, that's
in a
what
way,
I mean.
So,
if you take some drugs, yeah, of course, then the repetitive sounds and all that heightened melodies, those would be quite cool. I would imagine, but on no drugs, it just sounds damn. Where's the drop? Where's the further?
Yeah, you could say that, but I think that's merely a matter of taste. I'm sure nowadays you have like some music styles which may sound awful to you still, and surely with drugs it may be better. I mean, I think it's more a matter of taste. And
is there an explanation for that somehow? That the Netherlands is quite fond of trance music, because it's I guess only in the Netherlands so commonplace, right? It's not really.
Maybe that. Yeah, I think it's more something that's a bit declining. I mean, everything is more international, right? We have many good DJs there in Sweden, for instance, in Germany also. So, all over the world you have good DJs, also in the USA. But I think maybe it was so famous at first in the Netherlands, and maybe it got a bit of a head start because it was marketed internationally first off. So you probably have heard of Chesto. He was like a brand on its own.
Well, still is, yeah.
So he marketed himself, as far as I know, like our ideas on this is like they branded him really well and got him advertised all over the world with their shows. Much more because the initial culture is a bit underground, right?
I guess it started somehow that way, right?
But
then the Chesto, Armin van Buuren just elevated that.
Exactly, it's quite a leap to go from something that you do in a sense locally to bring it and show it to the world.
But see, what I mean is, even though Chesto and Armin van Buuren and all those others, they are known outside of the Netherlands as well, of course. But then when you go outside the Netherlands, you have more that sort of EDM when it comes to the popular dance music, right? Which is not really trance. It's not really trance, right? You probably wouldn't have any top 40 song from coming from trance, I suppose. But you have lots of I don't know, David Guetta, some Swedish producers, right? Who are the most common nowadays? Calvin Harris, right? All of those. Yeah.
But my point is that surely you have good DJs that are making amazing music, just like Armin, or so in Spain or in Italy. But it's just a matter of marketing nowadays, right?
Do you mean that the popularity of trance would be all over the world? It's just that the Netherlands makes it a bigger push?
I think they were getting like the gist of like how to present it to the world. They were a bit earlier with it than other countries, yeah. So not countries per se, but the concept of like how to sell it is maybe.
So would you say you have been influenced by the marketing, or no? Do you like trance music yourself, or do you feel a little bit drawn to other genres?
Well, I listen to a lot of music, but not so much pop music. I like trance, but techno just as well. So yeah, I don't have a serious preference to the two. But what I can say is that I prefer the songs from Tiesto and Armin van Buuren from 10 years ago much more than from nowadays.
So you are more like you're more like the not really what's it called, commercialized listener. You like the initial
I don't know
sounds.
How to put the differences between the two, but I'm not so fond
I've heard it of many people who used to say that, yeah, well, I like his work, but I like the old stuff better before those artists got too much commercially interested.
Yeah. I don't know if it's commercially or that they are trying to take a few steps too far, or that they try to cooperate with many other artists and put something together all the time and not making anything on them. I don't know where it went wrong, or so maybe they still think well, I'm not sure. Well, still I prefer the older versions, but there are plenty of other bands to replace them, I would say. And it's not just that you listen to one band. So.
But for instance, rock music is not really that commonplace, right?
No, but I don't like rock music at all. So
really,
metal or rock is not my thing. No.
Because that's also in, I guess it's less in Scandinavia thing. They have somehow or another. I think the Scandinavians have two branches popular. One is electronic dance music, and the other one is just rock, and even heavy rock. Because I think a lot of those heavy metal bands come from Scandinavian countries. So which is yeah, a little bit weird, but hey, I guess that's how you said, right? And a matter of tastes and cultures and marketing, I guess. So yeah, anyway, those were the two things I was curious about trance and techno music in the Netherlands, because it seems some out of character almost. Because if you would ask me, so knowing all the little things I know about the Netherlands, which is not so much, but still knowing all of it, if you would ask me, well, guess what's the most popular music over there, I would have more inclined to say, well, probably some what's the I don't know what's the right word in English, I guess folk songs. Do you know those yodely sounds in the Alps?
Yeah, Tyrol.
Yeah. I would have guessed something like that, honestly.
Why would you? Do you know any?
I don't know.
Do you know any?
Folk songs?
Yeah, from the Netherlands.
From the Netherlands, not at all.
Why would you guess it then?
Well, it just seems so. Netherlands seems so wholesome, right? As a country, it seems it seems so wholesome that it wouldn't occur that they would be willing to listen to repetitive beats for more than 5 minutes. It's just,
I see.
It seems to me a contradiction, is what I'm saying, right? So that was one aspect I always thought, well, maybe it's the drugs. Because those people are more, because the Dutch people are more liberal, right? When it comes to all those things that are, let's say, in many countries all over the world, criminal offenses. They might be only administrative, some penalties, or it's much freer over there in the Netherlands, right?
I wonder. I mean, you can take drugs in many other countries.
Come on, coffee shops are the most famous in the Netherlands.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, you're quite right about that. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that. To get back to this point of drugs, I wouldn't say that the Netherlands or the people in the Netherlands use more drugs than any other.
I would expect that to be the case.
It's less, like I believe. Netherlands is not even in the top 3 or
maybe
top
for
5.
permanent use. But surely, if you have so much available, you should be able to try more than the average European.
Yeah, well, I believe, I think these numbers I have in my head are a bit old, but I believe Netherlands is not in the top 3 or top 5.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah, I think I know what you mean, because drug use is not really prevalent that much, right? But I don't know about drug, what's it called? Well, tryouts of drugs.
What do you mean? Just once? And
Well, you are curious, right? You have the option. All right, I'll take some ecstasy.
Well, you may say that, but
and then maybe you just decide, it's not for you, and you don't use it, so you don't add to the statistics, right? But still, you have tried it out.
Yeah, okay. In a sense, that's very straightforward to think, but if I look around me, the friends and family and whoever, none of them pursue or any of these thoughts that you
not even portray. Trying?
No. So,
well, that's just
a good number. It's not interested.
That's just bad for the economy, then.
Well, you know about Amsterdam, right? It's the city for taking drugs. There are plenty of tourists that fill up this gap.
What's actually you as a Dutchman? What's your opinion about people coming to the Netherlands just because they know that they will get drugs there?
Well, it's there.
Or not just the drugs. I mean, I think prostitution is legal over there as well, right? So I don't know. Maybe something else that's more available.
Oh yeah, there are a good number of coffee shops, and indeed many tourists flock to Amsterdam just to see either the red light district and the coffee shops. Oh well, it's in their right to do so. I mean, getting a bit packed. Amsterdam is quite full. The city itself is not even 1 million people, so there are some issues with that. There are too many tourists coming to.
Too many tourists?
Yeah, too many. You also have the issue of Airbnb. Surely you've heard about it.
Yeah. So what is the problem of having too many tourists?
Oh, simply put, the first thing would be to guarantee safety, right, of your citizens, in a way.
Well,
or the everlasting nightlife that.
But would you say that there have been too many incidences where tourists are being too rude?
No. It's just simply put, if the canals or these streets along the canals are completely packed with tourists, and you need some I don't know. Medical service or emergency or so. There's no way to get an ambulance there quickly.
On bicycles.
Maybe
the Dutch way.
That's going to be an alternative. But it's just. I can imagine that such things become more difficult if you have so many people there. But it's interesting because Amsterdam is well known, but the other cities are usually left out of the traveling scheme of the tourists.
But is it the case that maybe it's a little bit different in other provinces? That it's
no, because
I mean the legal status is all over the same.
Well, to put things right, I believe that taking drugs is not even legal. It's been decriminalized.
Yeah, it's just tolerated in some way.
But if you go to other cities, you'll find coffee shops also. And canals and the similar houses. So. In a sense, it's you can find it everywhere and enjoy the experience you may have in Amsterdam also elsewhere with in a more authentic atmosphere.
All right. So Amsterdam is just because Amsterdam is the capital, right?
Yeah, it is.
So then,
administratively, I would say yes, because.
Why do you say administratively?
Because the parliament, the ministries, and so on are all in The Hague. So.
And why is that?
Oh, it's been like that forever.
Because I always associate The Hague with the international.
Yeah, it's also the
court or tribunal.
Yeah, international court. Yeah, European court.
Right. European Court of Justice, right?
Yeah. It's also there. So, but of course, Amsterdam has also many other things that are very interesting to see. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, they're how many? Maybe half an hour apart by train, a bit less. So. How
small is the Netherlands?
It is smaller than Latvia. It is. Yeah.
It's always so confusing to me because you have less of a territory, but you have 5 times as much people. 5 times more.
Latvia is like less than 2 million.
Yeah.
Netherlands is crossed 17 million.
What, 17?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's more than 5 times.
Oh yeah, I thought 10. I thought you were 10.
No, it's 17.
Damn.
Yeah, they're
That was fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you do that? What is the how come that such a small nation is so growing? Because the economy is also pretty strong, right?
Economy is a bit of I don't know a definition which is a bit.
Well, I mean, you can definitely compare it at least to Latvia.
But for
at least the prices, the the infrastructure, all those things.
Yeah, the Netherlands produces a lot of goods mostly in it's agricultural products.
But Philips is from the Netherlands, right? Philips.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest industry? Agriculture?
Well, I know that it's rather big. It produces, exports so many vegetables and fruits to the world.
Yeah, that's right.
Ridiculous how much. And also, maybe you've heard of Rotterdam. It's this port.
Mm-hmm.
It's also rather large. I think it's the largest in Europe and has been for a while, but not anymore in the world. So there's a lot of goods going in and out,
Mm-hmm.
which of course contributes to economy in a sense. Yeah.
What is the average wage in the Netherlands?
Ooh,
Do you know?
I wouldn't know. No.
Well, what would be your guess? Let's say let's take let's say 25-year-old kindergarten teacher.
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't take this guess. No.
Well,
I would go to Wikipedia and.
but some profession you know already. Do you know any profession? Maybe, let's say, if you say you are into geodesics, so what are your?
So what many people have me do, they take a PhD. PhD is somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 each month. So.
You mean as a salary?
Yeah.
Wait a second. That sounds too low for Dutch PhD.
Well, the PhD is also a bit of a. It's a job, yes, but you don't.
Oh, wait a second. Do you mean as a researcher?
Yeah, PhD.
Ah. Ah, well, yeah.
So you work at the university, so to say. Yeah.
Ah, all right, yeah. Well, I guess that's the case in many West European countries. That it's not the best paying job.
Right? No, yeah, you need also, of course, a lot of intrinsic motivation to do it, of course.
Yeah. So you're actually looking to go into your studies, a PhD?
I'm still looking. So I graduated, like I said, a few months ago. Still exploring what would be suitable. So I research for a company or so, but so that's still open. Yeah.
Because see, the thing we discussed just now, that is the reason why I always tell, look, if Latvia wants to do something, do improvements, we just need to import some Dutch people over here, right? Just copy them. Just all right, what do you do? All right, can you come here, help us out over here, right? And
so which problems concretely would you repair or address with?
Well, look at it. Yeah, look at it in generally, right? Latvia has a declining population.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the Dutch have an increasing population.
So far, yes.
Yes. Latvia has fairly stagnating economic sectors. I think the only steadily growing sector besides maybe agriculture would be probably now the real estate market, which is not really a good sign, is it? When we look at the events from 10 years ago, right? So it's not really a good reflection of economic strength if real estate prices just go up. Not necessarily. In a situation where the population is declining, I mean, It would be completely different if, let's say, real estate gets so scarce because too many people are starting to live in Latvia, and then it would be somehow understandable.
But in a way, you do not describe the actual problem. What's the actual problem? That people are leaving. I don't think that's the actual problem.
Well, I would say the know-how, because look at it this way. I mean, the Dutch have probably at least 10 globally competitive economic sectors. Probably. Just my random guess.
Yeah, let's say
right?
so, yeah.
Whereas Latvia, maybe one, which would be timber. So it's not really something of a know-how. It's just, you wait for it. All right, it's time to harvest and then ship it. Right? We don't have big electronics companies. Well, maybe actually, I think microsystems that they produce, I guess, routers. Yeah, but I don't know much about them because I think they started as a niche company and then slowly but surely increased their revenue and their product line. I guess so far, yeah. But other than that, I mean, you see probably the roads in Riga.
Mm-hmm.
And I would guess you already can say that they're not as good as in the Netherlands.
No, but there's also much more money spent on the roads in the Netherlands.
If you say to me, what is the actual problem? Yeah, I'm not sure what will be the actual problem, but it's just we don't have so much goody as you have in the Netherlands. Right, so that's why I say, all right, just bring some forcefully, just some Dutch people over here, so they can figure things out.
I see.
So
better roads.
Better roads.
More people.
More jobs, more people. Get all the party started, and then.
I see. But then let me put it. I think you have a point, but let's say growing population. And in the Netherlands is now led with a limited number of houses being built in the last couple of years, leads to houses that cannot be bought by anyone who just graduated, or can hardly be rented by anyone.
That's probably the case all over Europe, right?
Yeah. So, but it's also a bit.
Except I guess in Finland, because once there was a Finnish dude over here in the podcast, and I don't remember exactly, but the basic gist was. He said he, after graduation, didn't really know if he wanted to work, but he also didn't want to live with his parents anymore. So somehow or another, through I don't know what kind of government program, the government took him, basically allowed him to move, I guess, to Helsinki, paid his bills, and he has a year or so to figure things out.
Okay, yeah.
Which was what? You know what I mean? When I heard that, I was a little bit surprised.
Much different than my situation, for instance. But it's I don't know. It has to do with limited houses. Has to do with maybe I think also an old way of thinking on how we used to obtain a house. Right, you take a mortgage, but before you get married, you're with two. You have two incomes. You can take a proper mortgage to buy a house. Nowadays, many students they just graduate and they think, okay, I want to start working. Career is more important. So things have shifted, and still we're with this idea of buying a house, right, with a mortgage that's many hundreds of thousands of euros sometimes. So it's different. The system doesn't really work as it used to, I think.
Well, the case with real estate, I guess it's really commonplace. Simply because it's just such a nice speculative market. I mean, if you are a big holding company, why wouldn't you just invest in real estate projects and curb up the prices? Because it's sort of a safe investment in the short term. In the long term, prices might fluctuate all over the place, but in the long term, you can definitely say, most of the time, real estate prices go up in case nothing major
Yeah,
happens.
as long as.
And I usually say to people who come from Western Europe, the best solution for those people is to actually earn their living in their home country and spend it in Eastern Europe, but like for instance in Latvia, because I've heard of some people doing it, but yeah, it seems to me because I would always say that if I could easily do it, I would probably earn my money in Latvia, for instance, and spend it in Belarus.
Yeah.
Or maybe Ukraine, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because the prices over there are much lower, or at least they used to be. I'm not sure how they are now.
Yeah, well, it's a straightforward way of spending your money and
I've heard of
more value. Yeah.
And I've heard of either web developers or some form of web entrepreneurs doing the same thing, but in Asia, living in Asia, earning their income through, let's say, the internet, which would be mostly the American market, for instance, but spending it in Asia and living like a god in France.
I see. Yeah, but people find all sorts of ways to make their money worth a bit more. For instance, people in Switzerland, they go shopping if they're close to the border in Germany or in France. It's just a lot cheaper.
Is Switzerland probably a special case, right? Because Switzerland wouldn't be really, it's not really Europe in the European Union sense, right? And
yeah, they have a special status, just like Norway, for instance.
Yeah. And I guess the Netherlands would be the closest thing, right? Culturally, economically.
To Switzerland?
I guess so, right? Because Switzerland has, 4 languages?
And 3 official, like Italian, German and French. Okay, they have, as far as I know, and they have some dialects that are a bit more than just a dialect around there. Yeah.
And what's the situation in the Netherlands?
It's just Dutch, one language.
Maybe I'm confusing with Belgium.
Yeah, Belgium has 3, of which 2 are, of course, a bit more predominant. So you have the northern part, Flanders is Dutch speaking, or Flemish is also Dutch, and the south
Flemish is Dutch?
Yeah, it's just a dialect. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, I can understand.
So do Dutch people consider Belgium as almost an extension of the Netherlands?
No, because Belgium is a bit it's its own nation, but in the north you have the Flanders, the Flemish speaking, and in the south you have French speaking in Wallonia.
Yeah.
And then you have a small part that is German speaking, so to say.
Dutch people can speak easily German, right?
It's very similar. Yeah, it's one of the closest languages to German. Yeah.
So I think Belgium is a kingdom, right?
Yeah, just like.
And the Netherlands as well. Yeah. Are they related?
In what sense? In family ties, or so? I think all. I don't know specifically, but all of Europe is related in terms of royal families. Yeah, throughout history, everything.
Well, it definitely used to be the case, but I'm not sure whether or not it's really the case anymore. Because once, I don't know, let's say in the...
Well, it's one family, right?
Let's say once in the 18th century, royal families established their residencies all over Europe, right? All right, maybe. But then afterwards, Napoleon probably kicked their ass in many places and dethroned them or whatever. And I guess it might have changed families. Right?
I'm not sure what.
Because wasn't that the case that for a long time, I don't know at what time, but for a long time there was the former French ruling England, and then somehow or another they didn't have any heirs anymore, and so they just shipped someone from the Netherlands.
Yeah, to take the throne. So this family is also like.
Yeah, but before that they were related to the French, I think, and now nobody's here. All right, let's take the Dutch dude.
Also, the Dutch royal family is also as parts from Germany also, and
Oh, that's
also,
for sure. Yeah.
So it's all connected. It is very complex also, but these families, they you see.
How does
trace them
actually
back, most of them, to.
how does actually the politics work in the Netherlands? Do the royal family do actually something politically? Did
No.
they sign any
it's a
legislation?
constitutional monarchy, so the king has nothing to say really. It's a purely symbolical, ceremonial position.
But if it's a constitutional monarchy, then the monarch has some duties, right?
No, basically, whatever he says, he's not responsible for it.
Yeah.
The parliament is. So, and that's similar in Belgium, I believe, and in Spain. And,
But who signs the laws into existence? I mean, the parliament, let's say,
he
enact the law.
He has this ceremonial.
But he could probably also say, "No, I'm not signing it. I don't agree."
But
right?
that never happens.
Really?
It never happens.
Because Dutch people are so.
No, it's
So-
just he has no say in this. He has a certain position, which is ceremonial.
All right.
He has distanciated himself from politics
Really?
because he is there for all the people. So the role he takes up is not that he is interfering with politics. No,
Mm-hmm.
not at all.
So would you say that there's no real need for any royal family in the Netherlands anymore? I mean,
Well,
are you a fan?
Well, I would put it this way, as a friend once told me, is that nowadays, if you would install a monarchy, nobody would say, "Oh, that's a great idea," right? Because it's just a bit for show. But partially, it adds, or it is of course a part of history of the Netherlands. So yeah, you would not install it right now because with today's values, king maybe is a bit odd. But with the history that comes with it, as it is already there, it is it goes too far to say that we should get rid of it just like that, because it's part of the country in a way.
Do you have any proposals of abandoning the royal family? Because I think in England they have even political parties saying that they should.
No, not that I'm
dethrone-
aware of. No, not that I'm aware of. But yeah, so there's two sides. There's two things to say about it, about the royal family. But
I mean, usually people who come from monarchies, they usually like to point out that the royal family is being sort of upheld by taxpayers' money. So
yeah, that's very much true.
They don't. So they don't like the idea of somebody just living as a royal without
Of
any
their
added
money.
value.
Well, but just like I pointed out, they are not valueless. They are part of history, part of the country, part of an identity.
Well,
they
you can
fulfill a certain ceremonial.
But technically, you could just take a picture of them, put it in a museum, and be good with it, right?
Well, you know that's
and
not
then
the same,
that's for
right?
the history books.
You know that's not the same as having an actual royal family. And yes, it costs money, but at the same time, this is rather limited compared to other expenditures.
So would you say you are able to see in the Netherlands some form of expenditures that would be useless or more useless?
Well, if you want to save money, if that's the goal,
Mhm.
I don't think getting rid of the royal family is the right place to start.
Really? So what
No.
would be the right place?
Oh, I should think about that. But surely there are some. Maybe I get to some good points later in this conversation.
Yeah, because I don't think whether or not I'm sure I know enough, but I would imagine that the Dutch don't really that the Dutch are mostly thrifty people, that they are good with their money. Am I wrong?
You mean economically?
Yeah. Even in households, even in individual households, I would imagine that there's no real big debt crisis, for instance, of how are they called, payday loans, for instance. I would imagine that's not a real problem in the Netherlands.
I don't have any overview of what the debts are.
Well,
But,
have you heard of, I don't know, some acquaintances, for instance, who have money problems?
Surely everybody knows.
No, but
people
regular
like,
money problems.
No, not severely, no.
What was the...
But at the same time, about money problems, we're creating a lot of money problems with students. For instance, studying is not for free. It used to be, but now people are building up their debts. So
when
things
did
are
that
changing
change?
back and forth.
When did that change? If you say that it was free.
Like a few years ago, they changed the educational system gradually. Basically,
that doesn't sound good, right?
No, I don't think it's a
because I think in Germany and in Finland there is still
in
free education, right?
And in France it's also sort of free. Yeah.
Wow.
We're moving another way in this sense.
That's interesting. Do you know the reason for that? Why did they?
Money, yeah, money.
Well, but wouldn't you say that you have enough money? In a sense that why would they? Why would is it that the state gets the funds?
Yeah, basically what was before, you would get a subsidy.
Yeah.
You would get some money, even if you would go elsewhere. Let's say university was a bit, or your school, or so it's too far. They would say, okay, then you probably want to have your apartment or room, student housing, close to it. So we can support you. Also with moving out, we can give you some additional money. Yeah. But all of that is turned into a loan. So basically, every penny you take up from the government, you have to pay back eventually. So,
do you have to pay back in all circumstances, or maybe only in in those when you don't work in the profession after you graduate, for instance?
Yeah, there is a lot of regulations around it. So let's say you don't work, you don't have to pay back. Let's say you work under a minimal wage or some limits, you also pay less or nothing at all. There are many regulations to make it go smoothly in a way, but still you're paying back if you work for the normal situation. Then you're paying back everything.
So what is a normal tuition fee per year?
So that's
a university.
All universities are applied universities, so to say. They're all around 2,000 euros per year.
2,000 per year.
Yeah.
See, there's the difference. You have a paid tuition, 2,000 euros per year, which is already quite hefty, right?
Yeah, it is significant. Yeah.
Yes, but see, that's even, I think, sometimes less than in Latvia, which is weird, right? Because
so what do you pay at the RTU? Okay.
Well, RTU is one of the biggest state-funded universities, so they have many state-funded positions, right, for students. But generally speaking, 1,500 to 2,500 would be tuition fee that you can find easily in Latvia. For many study courses, many professions. It's not just, I don't know, let's say for one profession, and for the others it's really cheap. Not really. And I remember someone coming from France or America or Germany and wondering about that as well. That such a small country, such a small economy can actually afford to put so big prices on their tuitions in universities.
I see.
Yeah.
And you said Finland is for free? Or?
So I've heard, yes.
What about the countries next to it, next to Latvia, so Estonia and Lithuania?
Well, they are not free as far as I know, but I'm not sure how the student fees would compare. But anyway, most of the time when people speak about the higher education system in the Baltics, they usually just try to compare the bang for the buck, sort of, because it's not free anywhere in the Baltics, right? It's maybe there are some price discrepancies, but usually they just try to put the price against the ranking of the schools, right, of the universities in the global, I don't know what type of ranking, but they compare it, and I think no higher education institution of the Baltics is even in the top 500 of the world, which is usually the political laughing stock when it comes to speaking about education reforms or higher education in particular. That they say, well, yeah, of course, we need so much of that additional funds and stuff like that, right? Because we don't really compete in the world globally.
Yeah.
But I guess that's not really a problem for the Dutch, right? Because you have top universities for sure.
Yeah, there's decent education, I would say.
Yeah. See, well, that's the one of the differences.
What I think is good, because I understand then that the prices are different among universities here. In the Netherlands everything is the same price for
Because
every European. So you would pay the same as I would.
Well, I mean, the tuition fee would be the same for everybody also in Latvia. It's just that all the universities don't have a set guideline. I mean, you could go to one university and pay for, let's say, economics degree 6,000 euros for 3 years or 8,000 for 4 years, and you could go maybe to another university and maybe pay only 6,000 for 4 years. Somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's definitely not cheap, and most people who don't have that type of scenario, where like in RTU, where they have the state-funded positions.
Yeah.
Because I've known several people who actually, after graduating high school, have gone specifically to RTU just because they didn't have to pay for studying there. So they didn't choose actually the profession they would like to do or that they are interested in. Their main concern was not to pay for the studies, right? And so they accordingly found something.
Yeah, but 2,000 euros in Latvia is a lot of money.
It is, and most students get student loans.
And then then it's not as easy to go elsewhere immediately. But if you can pay 2,000 euros for university RTU, you can just as well go to a technical university in the Netherlands for the same sum.
No. What I mean is most of those student fees are not paid by those students. They're
but
paid
if
as
you
loans.
would have to pay, then
if you could take your money, of course, you could spend it more wisely. And many people do that.
Yeah, maybe that also explains part of the event that people are leaving Latvia.
Yes, well,
if you could study for free.
Yeah, the difference between the cost of living, and benefit.
Yeah, and then you add to it that the universities in Latvia are not doing well in the rankings. So 1 + 1 is 2, right?
So and my conclusion is we just need more Dutch people in Latvia. That's the solution.
Yeah, but
simple.
Fair
and square.
Perhaps, yeah.
I just don't know how many. Right? Would thousands suffice for a start?
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. Just shipping one small town from the Netherlands into Latvia, and then see how it goes. Maybe it's a good start. But I'm curious about how actually the Dutch society evolved, because I think before the Second World War, the Netherlands was not really much of a country in any sense, of an economic country in any sense. Usually they had former, I think, till up until the First World War, many things were based on colonies. Am I right?
There were colonies, yes, but I think trade also flourished before the Second World War, which is one of the main economical factors, I think, in the Netherlands, trade. So, I don't know how I wouldn't say that it was insignificant before the Second World War, but also.
Well, I don't mean to say insignificant, but what I mean is nowadays the Netherlands is producing sort of their own wealth, right? They are responsible for their own wealth. I think before the First World War, they were more exploiting other territories for their benefit.
Surely these colonies made a lot of money. Yeah, that's for sure.
Because I think, I think the real boom for the Netherlands was somewhere around the 17th century, and there's the famous tulip bulb crisis, right? When they had so exorbitant prices, and afterwards the market just crashed, and nobody really had any clue why the bulbs were so pricey in the first place.
The 17th century was
and around the same time
flourishing.
I think the Netherlands were the first to introduce a central bank, because they had such a big, strong stock market.
Yeah, and the idea of multinationals and stocks.
And then you add to that the Dutch East India Company, right? But yeah, it was based mostly from either colonies or some type of foreign territories, right? And then after the First World War and after the Second World War, somehow you guys just made up your own economy.
But the First World War was not does not play a large role in our history, because
really?
The Dutch were independent. So while Belgium was completely destroyed, the Netherlands just remained independent during that time.
Well, I mean, everybody was independent, right?
Well, they managed to stay independent throughout the First World War. So the Netherlands did not take any part in any of the.
Wait a second. The Netherlands were neutral during the war.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you.
Well, not independent, but neutral. That's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there was not.
I always thought that only the Swiss were neutral.
Oh yeah, they managed to remain neutral throughout First World War. Strategy in the Second World War was similar, but did not work out.
Yeah, tell that to Hitler, right?
Well, yeah, it is strategically much more much better to take over France if you make a bit of a wider sweep. But yeah, it was it also showed how the Netherlands was prepared in that during that time. Not at all, basically. They thought, okay, yeah.
Well, their strategy was to be just diplomatic about it, I guess.
Yeah, diplomatic, make money. I mean, war also during the First World War, a lot of money was also made. Because
you mean in the Netherlands?
Yeah. Because if you remain neutral, you can safeguard. You're a safe haven for transports from other countries.
I guess.
So companies also made a lot of money during that time. But war makes money.
I guess. Usually they say that the Swiss make money in all the wars, and especially in the world wars.
Yeah, because
they had to stash the cash.
Yeah, for instance, that's one of the possibilities you can do as a neutral country. Yeah.
It's always somehow.
You can produce weapons, sell it. You can sell and store goods or cash. You can do all.
I was surprised, but I think some Swiss dude told me that actually Switzerland produces weapons.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to hear. I thought that they just produce also cheese, chocolate, and some pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
But
they produce a lot of weapons. But Sweden also.
Sweden for sure.
But Sweden remained neutral also during the Second World War, if I remember.
I don't know.
Say that correctly.
I don't know.
But there are, you can produce weapons, sell it, remain neutral. There are ways.
What is the situation in the Netherlands? Do they produce anything similar to military equipment?
I'm not sure if they do. The Dutch military is a rather poor state at the moment. There are no tanks, for instance.
Really?
All tanks have been sold to other countries for practices. Dutch military hires German tanks, for instance. It's a funny sight, basically, if you see that in the newspapers. Yeah. So many cuts year after year have been
cuts
taken place on military budget. So now they think about, okay, maybe we should raise the budget.
But you don't have compulsory service, right?
No. For many decades, not anymore. No, no.
Well, yeah. I guess if you have such a well-established society, because again, you haven't disproven my initial statement that the Dutch are the best people in the world, except you know.
I want to correct you in there
right.
on that, because it's not the people, it's just regulations and
well, the culture.
Distribution of wealth, maybe part of.
Let's just make it somehow a middle ground. It's just a culture. You have a sort of a unique culture. You have different ethnicities mixed with different political, economic backgrounds, and then being just so industrious.
In a way,
and with the trance music just on the side,
which is a plus for you.
Which is, well, not a plus. It's just so what?
Okay.
Why not yodel?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that, because, of course, I see many problems in the Netherlands also.
Many problems?
Surely there are problems in Latvia. Yeah, I do.
Because we are 1 hour in, and you only stated one problem. That,
okay, let me
the
add
house
one.
prices are too big.
Yeah, well, let me add one from my perspective. The Netherlands is very, very polluted.
What?
It's very polluted, the country.
Polluted?
Yeah. We have in the south.
Everybody who goes from Latvia to the Netherlands says how clean it is.
That's interesting, because if you look at the nitrogen dioxide pollution, which is from cars and factories also, but mostly from cars, in the Netherlands, it's terrible basically. And in Latvia, you're probably better off, even though it's
maybe we just don't measure as much.
Yeah, well, nowadays
we
can see it with new satellites. But if you look at it from industrial point and how pollution is distributed in Europe, there are two places which are terrible, so to say. Netherlands almost completely, and northern Italy in the Po Valley. So and
but
that's
what do you
because
mean
of the whole Rotterdam harbor is one large industrial sector.
But do you mean pollution as in agricultural chemicals, or pollution?
It's just a gas. So this nitrogen dioxide is a gas which reduces lifetime if you inhale it 24/7. Yeah. So, and what I was saying is that you have Rotterdam. It's very large. This port, lots of industry there. Then there's Ruhrgebiet, just across the border in Germany. Maybe you've heard of it. It's Rhineland area, a bit north also. And then in the south we have Antwerp. So there's also another large harbor.
All right.
So this also, and then this closely knit conglomeration of cities and people. 17 million. So they all displaced by car or whatever. It's also a lot of extra additional pollution. So you may say it looks very clean, but not really. You cannot see gases, right? You don't.
But how
feel
do you?
them.
Yeah, but how do you experience that pollution then?
You could say that life expectancy is reduced by 1 year.
I would say that if I had to guess, the Dutch probably has one of the longest life expectancies in the world.
But then it's reduced by pollution.
Yeah, and still one of the longest, right?
Yeah, but see? I'm trying to point out that there are some serious problems, that the Netherlands is very much polluted.
That's surely an issue. Nobody is doubting that.
Then I can go to maybe, because people from Europe see Netherlands as maybe, well, you portray it as a very, very, very nice country, but I don't know, if you read the newspapers for a week or so, you see that there are many other problems under the surface. So let me go to another example.
All right.
For instance, one of the largest gas fields on land, or not offshore, is located in the Netherlands. It's in the north,
right.
And this has been leading to a lot of wealth, because this gas could be used just for the Dutch market, so to say, rather than importing it from Russia or elsewhere.
Do you import from Russia? Probably not.
I believe not at the moment, no, because there's a lot of gas.
And you have Royal Dutch Shell, right?
Yeah, this Anglo-Dutch.
Yeah.
But anyway, this has been exploited for decades, and so much gas has been extracted that we now, and well, not now already, for more than a few decades, we see that there are earthquakes, and these earthquakes are basically man-made.
In the Netherlands,
there's no volcano, no tectonic plates or anything. No, we make our own earthquakes in that area because so much gas has been extracted there.
But are those big earthquakes?
Well, they destroy houses and they are declared unsafe. So people have to move elsewhere.
Yeah, that's
so it's not really nice. And then they're also not really covered by the government. They're more or less abandoned because, like I said, North-South Holland, that's where most people live.
Yeah.
But it's like in the other corner of the Netherlands, so it's not really, I don't know if it's visibility that plays a role, but they're not really, not the right attention or coverage is given to these people. So they're a bit left out.
Are you speaking about the part of Holland that's facing more towards Britain?
No, it's a different province, so in Groningen is the province.
But is it more towards Britain?
No, it's all the way northeast, so against Germany.
Where the earthquakes are. Oh, look at that.
But it's fascinating that we extracted so much that not we, but the Dutch government, so to say, extracted so much that they created new earthquakes.
Well, that's a common occurrence in many places where they extract gas. And,
well, it's
oil.
also very much well known. But the people that have been moved out of their houses there, they're not really well taken care of. Actually, it's a bit shameless what happened in politics there. So,
wouldn't you just, if you live in that area, wouldn't you just insure your house and that's fine?
Yeah, that's what you would think, but they're not covered. At least they have to go through an amazing amount of the bureaucracy to get it, if they would get it.
All right.
And the way they are treated there is, I would say, shameless. So we are like this is just to point out that things are not going as smooth as you would think.
All right, fair enough.
Standing from
so would you say that those people are really sort of left in the dust, or do they have options? It's just that the bureaucratic process takes.
Well, they were left in the dark for a long time. They've not been heard for a long time. Only recently they start procedures taking a bit more seriously, but still there are cases that.
How many people are we talking that they are affected by that?
Surely thousands. Yeah.
But more than
I don't know the numbers of
more than 10,000.
The region that is affected by this subsidence, because ground just sinks a bit, and if that's differential, a bit more on the one part of the house than the other, you get cracks basically.
Yeah.
But this area that is affected is rather large, and it doesn't stop once gas production stops. That's also a problem. If you stop now, you cannot say, okay, tomorrow it's over. So it's not a problem. That
the ball is already rolling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and also there so much money has been made out of this gas field.
For the government?
Yeah. Of course.
Oh, that's cool. At least it's not private.
Yeah, but that makes
because in America it's private many times.
But that makes it worse in a sense that the money is already there and has already been earned to the Dutch government.
Yeah,
it would be like a small but very decent act to say, okay, you are living in that area from which we have earned as a complete Netherlands so much, we should maybe give something back. Yeah.
But they don't do that at all?
Well, not as in the way they should.
Yeah,
and they don't, in many cases, like I said, you have to go through a lot of bureaucracy, and basically you lose your house, and many of them are.
Well, maybe you get a new one and better one instead.
Well, in some cases, but not. I believe by far not all of them have been handled decently. Well, so many people are left in the dark for a long time before they even get an answer, and many people haven't got an answer yet. So.
But in a percentage-wise, the affected population of the whole country would be less than 0.01%, right?
No, I think
Seven,
it's
17
more.
million. 2 decimals would be.
It's basically an entire province that's on this gas field.
So 17 million, 1% would be
I don't.
170,000. 1% would be 170,000, right?
Yeah.
0.1% would be 17,000.
Yeah, maybe that's the number we're talking about.
So it's not that bad, right?
Well, it's about the way
You just
people
pay them in
It's-
cheese. Oh, I don't know what's
No,
the,
but
what's,
it's
what's the biggest.
It's the way people are treated in this whole
But for
this
those,
whole
but for those
situation.
who, all right. But for those who are affected and who complain, there are some remedies, right? It's just that they are a bit complicated.
Not yet. Like many people are not covered yet. That's the problem.
So they become homeless, just purely homeless.
Well, they live in a house that's unsafe, or they don't get any refunds because it's like a discussion. Was it the earthquake, or is it just your soil that is not really stable, or was it?
Oh, that's
really,
sneaky.
Was it us? The NAM, which is this Dutch, let's say, oil company, which is partially also owned by Shell. Is it really us, right? Or was it just the truck that drove by and sort of deformed?
Yeah, that sounds.
See, it's a very hard discussion to.
Well, it's not a. I mean, it's pretty
for
obvious.
For the insurer, it is a very difficult discussion because they like to make money and not give money away. So it is a discussion in which you can hide behind the uncertainties that come with gas extraction. So, but that's just one point. I can add another, which is more also quite recent. Is that when a company earns money, they can share the profit with the shareholders, so to say.
You mean dividends, right?
Sorry?
Do you mean dividends?
Exactly, dividend. And on dividend, there is a tax.
All right, yeah.
And this tax is some percentage. In the Netherlands, it's a bit in between. It's not a lot more than any of the neighboring countries. It's not zero. It's just, I think, a reasonable percentage.
I thought it's one of the lowest in the world.
Yeah, it's not even high. So, thing is, they wanted coalition, not really the coalition, but one party in the coalition, the largest one, which is a Liberal Party, wanted to get rid of it because it would be good for companies to settle.
It's already good for companies in the Netherlands.
Nonetheless, they said we should get rid of it.
Yeah, well, those are the
liberals. It would
liberals.
cost, they said, it would cost maybe 1.4 billion euros.
You mean
it would cost it because the government would not, or the tax,
the lost revenue.
They would not. Yeah, they would not get it.
All right.
Then they figured out that there was a sort of closed deal of that party with Unilever and Shell, which are two large semi-Dutch companies.
I approve of that. See, that's what I mean. You're good with business. You're good with business.
This is basically corruption.
Corruption, yeah.
Plainly. But of course...
But it's probably good corruption.
But in a way, this party pushed on, regardless. Then these two companies said, no, we would not leave the country if this... because it was a deal that they would stay and sort of maybe in a way speculate that they would leave, just like other companies would leave the Netherlands if they would still keep on keep this tax.
Yeah.
Well, so this party went on and about to get everything done to get rid of it, of this tax. But in the end, these two companies also said, no, we would not really leave. But nonetheless, this party would still push on to make this extra.
That is, yeah.
It just in
that
the
is
end,
understandable.
It went on for many months to get this thing through the parliament to get it done. None of the parties, or almost, I think none of the other parties in the coalition, none of the opposition wanted to get this regulation, but they still pushed on to get it done.
But they didn't get it.
In the end, it fell because it was so unpopular. Because nobody, not even the companies initially, would say that it was crucial to any decision that they would leave or not. But still, they pushed on. But in the end, it fell. But it took so much to get it stopped.
In the end, common sense prevailed.
No, in the end, it was shown that even though none of the people were in favor of it, it was still pushed on for many months. Many things were.
That's what I mean. Common sense prevailed, but
no,
your political process allowed some individual interests to be represented
by
and
companies.
to be lobbied.
Yeah, well,
but that's good.
Basically, bought.
But that's good. I mean, your political process works.
No,
everybody has a voice.
It doesn't.
Everybody has a voice, but maybe the majority will silence it.
No, because
at one point.
only it took a lot to get it stopped. Basically, it would not have been stopped if it. I think if it wouldn't have been costing more, because after 1.4 billion it became 1.6, then almost 2. So the prices were also, the cost of it, this whole thing would also rise. Mm-hmm. But you see that it can just be controlled by these companies, or you just see that some parties are not working in the interest of the people, but instead for
that's what parties are for, right? To work for a part of the society.
No, they should work for the inhabitants of that very same country. They should not represent Unilever, which they do. Well, I mean, ideologically, they should.
Political parties are just political ideologies representing certain interests, not all interests, right?
Yeah, but what do you actually
I think actually the king has the duty to represent the majority of interests.
Yeah, but he has no political power whatsoever.
Yeah, see, but other than that, every political party can choose what to represent. I mean, you could have you could have a communist party, right? And they would dismiss all business.
Okay, in a way you make a point, but nonetheless, this party has over 30 seats of 150 in this second chamber.
Yeah. And they have to represent their biggest
these 30
influencers.
Seats are not coming from Unilever. No, not at all.
Unilever is a British company, right?
British Dutch also, I think.
British Dutch?
Or Dutch only, something like that. Or by origin. Anyway, many funny things are Dutch, which shouldn't be. I believe U2, the band, is also Dutch, but it is not. It's simply settled, or it's simply registered in the Netherlands. So.
Yeah, of course. That's what I mean.
That shouldn't mean that this company should have any say in
but the Dutch have a long history of their political process being favorable to business, to international trade.
Basically a tax haven.
Yep. That's what I mean.
Yeah, well, but it doesn't mean it is good, and it doesn't mean it it doesn't mean it's morally right to do so. The very fact that a party should not be listening to one or several of these companies.
The very fact that you are actually criticizing the intent of the majority party to represent only certain business interests without the concern of the majority is actually representative of the fact that your political process is working very nice. Because when I had, for instance, a Romanian dude over here, right, his concern was that they actually are literally stealing, not following any laws in many respects, right, and that they do it together with the police. Just because there's no real law and order, it's more like a mafia type of situation sometimes.
That's
it's
true.
Definitely not the case there.
Surely it is worse in these countries, but it just gives to show that these parties are not just there for you, and this is one example that could be stopped after all. Yes, that is true.
Did they say that they were for you?
Yeah, because they are politicians.
No, but that's what I mean.
They are representatives of the people. That's the very role of it.
It's no.
Yes, it is. That's the whole idea of democracy.
Now you are a little bit conflicting because the Netherlands is a constitutional monarchy. So where do you see the democracy in that one?
It is a democracy.
Well, does the constitution state that it is?
Yeah, it is. It is a democracy.
Does it state?
Yeah.
All right. Which article?
I don't know anything about the articles, but it's just that we have a coalition, so a first chamber and a second chamber, basically, so a Senate, which basically take all the decisions for and make new laws, just like any other country. Basically, Belgium is very similar. Germany is also very similar. Germany is almost.
I would be very curious, where the democratic part is in there, because I would imagine that at least theoretically they don't have any obligation to the majority. They would have the obligation to their constituents, which would be, let's say, I'm a political party. I say I am for free trade. Yay! A part of the society wants that too. They vote for me. Because of them, let's say I get 15 seats in the parliament, right? All right, so I represent those type of people, those people who are for the same ideology I stand for. And then maybe in the parliament with my 15 people, I encounter some people who are against free trade or who are for, I don't know, something else totally completely different. So that's the process where I have to manage. All right, if I want to get something done for them, maybe I have to compromise with those dudes in some respects.
Yeah, of course, there's always compromises.
Right? So, but in no shape or form I'm the same as them, right? So we represent our own particular interests. It's just that we are totally mashed into one building, into one institution, and somehow or another we need to make things work.
Exactly, but let me just add that some of these measures, just like this dividend tax that should be removed, was not anywhere to be found in any of the party programs.
That's never the case.
No, but it gives to show that it is not the right way that things should be taking place.
But would you say that you still would like to have the option to influence politicians? Because that's the process that Unilever took. They actually wanted to have a business interest of theirs realized by a political process, which would be in some sense democratic, because that allows the citizens to influence the political process.
In a way, but still, I would say that people voted for this party.
Yeah.
Because of their party program, for what they represent.
Are you sure?
Yeah, of course.
Do you read party programs?
Of course.
Oh, really?
You vote based on a party program.
Now you caught me off guard.
You vote based on a party program.
But the party program is never being executed. Never. It's just that
it is executed based on...
it's the representation of values. It's more or less, we want free education.
It's a compromise. Of course, there are multiple parties in the coalition, always 2 or 3. It's always a coalition in the Netherlands. But each of these parties does their best to get points of this party program in the ultimate, let's say, program of this coalition. That's how things
do they have an obligation to do that? Because I think it's just a political marketing campaign.
If they don't, basically, they betray their own party program and, in a sense, their party values, and nobody would really be interested in voting again for this party. That's how it goes.
But does that happen?
Yeah, in a way it does. Because
people have said that because you didn't execute your party program, we won't vote for you again?
In a way it does. And there's a perfect example of, we have a similar party as would be to the Labour Party in England. We had a Labour Party that was relatively strong.
Right.
And this party has been decimated in the last elections. Basically, there's almost nothing left of it. Whereas it had a very strong presence of over maybe 25 to almost 40% of the seats, and now it has almost nothing.
It's
And
always
it's just because they did not abide to any of the party program points. They did not represent any of the any of the people that voted for them. So in a way, it is basically or exactly what you say, that if you don't, if you sort of betray your party program, you just you just lose.
It's always the case with major economies that they have sort of 2 or 3 big political parties.
No, that's not really the case.
But no, what I mean is this, that it fluctuates, right? It's the same in Germany.
No, this
It's
is
the
not a
same-
fluctuation.
It's sort of in the same in America as well. I mean,
It
you
is-
have a Democratic term, then you have a Republican, then you have a
No,
Democratic,
no,
and then
no.
you have Republican.
There are well over 10, 15, well, there are almost 40 parties that you can vote for. But
But
there are
you
many-
probably have 3 to 5 that are the biggest draws.
No.
It's usually the case.
Yeah, but Dutch
Who
politics.
who constitutes the coalition? How many parties?
Dutch politics is not the same as American.
But how
It's far
many
from
how
it.
many
Or-
parties do constitute the coalition?
At the moment, it's let's say we have.
Probably some conservatives,
Three.
some liberals, and some greens.
I can tell you the distribution
Green?
of parties.
Do you
So
have a green party?
Yeah. So basically,
Are
what
they
we
in the
have,
coalition?
there are 150 seats.
All right.
Almost 30. Yeah, 30 something I believe is for this Liberal Party.
So 20%.
Yeah.
All right.
Then the next up is 19 seats.
Yeah.
It's all around 19, 18. So 19 seats for some right-wing party. Then 19
Which are
seats-
conservative.
No, this is very far right.
They are
So-
not in the coalition.
No.
All right.
Then there's about 19, 18 for green left. That's how they call
They are in
themselves.
the coalition.
No.
No. All right.
Then there is Christian Democrats.
All right. Are they in the coalition?
I believe they are, yeah. Then there is, yeah, they are. And then there is Democrats. I would put them sort of center.
All right. Coalition.
Yeah.
All right.
And they also betrayed sort of this educational system. So probably next elections they will also lose.
But now you.
Then we also have Christian Union
All right.
is another
Two-
important
So
player.
many Christians over there. Christian
they-
Democrats, Christian Union.
Yeah, Christian Democrats and Christian Union. And then we have, if you want more, there is
Yeah.
always Reformed Christians in a way, so another Christian party, and they all have around this, are all around this. We have a socialist party also. They're all around this 10, 20 seats.
And which one was the one you said that they are similar to Labour?
Yeah, well, they lost. They're below 10 seats. I believe.
What's their name?
It's basically
How are
Partij
they
voor de
called?
Arbeid, so Party for Labor, for
Mhm.
something like that.
All right.
They lost so many seats, whereas they were always in the category of Christian Democrats or even liberals, so way over 20 seats. So 20, 30, almost 40. They lost so much, and they basically this part.
The thing you are describing is quite, to me at least, sounds quite similar to the German situation, because they had for a long time CDU, the Christian Democrats,
yeah.
right? And then came the socialists,
Yeah, SPD.
right? Yeah, and afterwards again Christian Democrats. Now Merkel is stepping back,
No.
and then at let's say 2022, the socialists will come again. It's just the way it works with those
No,
big
because-
economic
because-
countries.
It's a gradual rise of this.
And the
of
Greens
this
are
liberal
always
party.
somewhere in the middle.
No, Greens got to grow a lot more. Oh, we also have a party for animals. There's another one that is in.
Oh, that sounds quirky.
Yeah, well, but they've
How
been
many
there for,
seats
for
do they
many years. Oh, they are also on the rise. They are more than 5, I think. Yeah, something like that.
And basically, their party is just for animal rights.
Oh, it's just what the name would make you think. But basically, they have the same ideas as as the Green leftist party, so to say.
But what's
But
the
they
reason?
have more they would say that animals should get a better life as one of their main stakes.
But you are proving my point that the Dutch system is just the best, because where else could you see so many divided Christians in the political spectrum?
But
many times you just have one Christian
the point that everything is represented, or that everything is being taken care of. That point, or
yes, because you give a voice to almost everybody.
Yeah,
it's just that the political process will ensure that the majority will be heard in the end.
Yes, it's good. Yeah. It also has some drawbacks, but I think it's good. Yes, that the political system is at least splintered to some minimal extent, because indeed in America there is almost no compromise.
Did you say that the right wings are really, really extreme? Are they the ones who like to have no immigrants and so forth?
Yeah. In a way.
And
it's probably you've heard of this person. It's this Wilders.
I
he looks like Boris Johnson and Trump at the same time.
I might have seen him in some context, maybe, because I'm not sure whether or not who is for what ideology, but I know that there were some extreme opinionists in the Netherlands who toured also in Europe just to gather momentum. And maybe it's one of them.
Even all the way to the
States. Did he have some interesting hair?
Yeah, he does.
All right, then maybe it's Well, anyway.
But these I don't know. This party has some very weird ideas, in my opinion, about some international and immigrational setups. But anyway, they only represent, I think, maybe 19. So on their own, they cannot fulfill these things. So.
But their party program is probably.
The funny thing is that their party program is only one page. And that it doesn't make any sense, because many party programs are complete books.
Really?
Because the thing is that you make as a party, you make a party program. You say, I want to do, and of course that is summarized, but in a way they also show that, for instance, we want to spend this and this and this and this on that and that and that and that, and then they
that was a Dutch pronunciation, right? That.
And anyway, and then they submit this report to let's say another institution, a national institution, and they calculate to what extent that is true or that it makes sense, and they go through all the numbers and say, okay, your party program, that does make sense. That's so to say.
And that organization is neutral?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Nice.
And it always does. So it gives to show that if you submit your party program and have it checked in a way, that you sort of are in a way true to what you present, that it is not just made up some evening at a bar. And this right-wing party does not, has a party program of one page, has not have anything checked of what they do. So they basically say, you want to one funny thing is they say that we want to get rid of all Qurans.
What?
All Qurans.
Just the books?
Yeah. So, or we want to...
does the Netherlands have any problems with Muslims?
This party does. Huh? Anyway, but so they don't have anything checked. They don't have anything well described.
Well, I mean, physically, you couldn't be able to basically, Well, take all the Quran books and just
how would that work?
Burn them. You can do that.
How would that work? Because
it's probably just logistically difficult.
Yeah, jokes are made like, how would you do that? So you would go door by door and ask if people have
turn
Quran,
in your Quran. Yes, and then, that's a state program.
Would you then just ask some people if they know someone else that has a Quran that they would maybe say that okay, these people have a Quran? Would you then also reward them to make it go a bit better? Turn in
one Quran.
It looks like a lot of other historical events that did not.
Turn in one Quran, get 2 Bibles and back.
Maybe, yeah. But,
why not?
Anyway, I just wanted to point out that this party is in a way very ridiculous. Yeah. So
Well,
some parties are.
to be honest, that type of party sounds more like our political scenario. Because I don't know anybody who would pay attention to party programs at all. Just because people are so used to not that the promises are not fulfilled. That almost all the people are just so fed up with all the promises.
I see.
And during these elections we had in October, the recent parliament elections, two parties were elected the most, which basically stated enough with this nonsense, right? They were almost like demagogues, right? And so they got quite a lot of votes. Because people were fed up, but it wasn't a calculated vote. It was just a protest vote of sorts.
Sounds
right?
like Brexit. Sounds like Brexit.
Well, if we would, I don't know if we would have anything similar possible, right? Because for us, in Latvia, the European Union is definitely a benefit. I mean, it did improve our situation. It's just that it's culturally, it's just that many things are being organized the way they were organized in the Soviet Union. Because simply because people are almost many times the same. Right, I mean, they grew up in the Soviet Union. They were educated in the Soviet Union. They started work in the Soviet Union. Then switched to independent Latvia. Then switched to Latvia integrated in the European Union. And so these people who grew up in the Soviet, what are the right words? Those collective farms and stuff like that. Who grew up there.
Kolkhoz.
Kolkhoz. so now they are in middle management, maybe sometimes top management, and also let's say some state bureaucracies. You get the results you get. They don't know any word English, right? For instance, so they are not really influenced by the Western ideologies, but still,
in a way, maybe. I don't know. You see that in because in education, right? Education also has a lot of the likes from Soviet Union.
In Latvia?
Well, in many of these countries.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's really related to the generations shift.
Yeah. So you cannot just get. You can say, okay, we are now capitalist.
Well,
you cannot just get rid of the people. It just takes time.
But see, that's the thing. Technically, you could, because there were many people who actually, once it was available for them to start their entrepreneurship, they just did that, right off the bat. They didn't have to switch their mindset. They already had the mindset. It's just that the technical abilities came, and so it sort of matched, and now they went off to the races. But a lot of people, they are so conservative in many respects that they don't really care to learn new things, and so they continue to do what they have learned so far. And if that thing is not really the appropriate in that particular time, it just creates a lot of friction. And I think that's one of the reasons why the last elections showed that the protest votes were still gaining momentum, because it was always the case that people voted in a protest manner. It's just that these elections were sort of almost one of the biggest when it comes to the protest vote specifically, because usually it was the case that the nationalists, the Green Party, and several others, they usually had a stable almost like a quota. They almost could predict that they will get at least this many seats, right? But these elections were a little bit different, because social media played a role, and those protest voters actually consumed more Facebook content, and so these new parties actually catered to those audiences. So and this one shifted it.
And only until a few days ago, finally the parliament was formed, right? The parliament was formed only a few days ago, maybe.
Well,
it took a long time.
The government, it was sort of agreed upon, I guess, this week.
Yeah,
I think this week.
Finally, they got some deal, but it took a long time.
Well, look at it this way. No, I think no Latvian government has worked its full term.
Is that really so?
As far as I, because the term would be for basically 4 years, right? Right until the next election. But I think it has never happened. It usually has. It has happened that, for instance, during 2 years in, the government changes. Then the next parliament election comes, and basically the same government still continues. No. But then again, 2 years in or so, it switches. So no full-term government so far, as I know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's made the people angry in a sense, right? Because nobody could actually execute their party program in such scenarios, right?
Status quo remains.
It changes, and so that's the people's opinion, right? That nothing really changes in such a system. Nothing really changes. The same old people come to the government positions, come to the political positions. They don't really provide any useful change. They're just almost like parasites, right?
Yeah, well, you could say that. Yeah,
and that's the issue over here. Whereas your issue, you stated, is just they have a one-page party program. That's definitely not a concern in Latvia.
But I'm just trying to point out that you have a lot of funny, strange things. But I don't know. Not that everybody reads party programs.
Let's put it this way: they are most of them are not intentional. Right? If they were intentional, you could say, "Oh, well, we have a great sense of humor, perhaps," right? But it's not really intentional.
Well, we laugh at it, or I do, but they are quite serious about it. It's just that the people can be manipulated in all sorts of ways. We see with Brexit.
But do you think many people in the Netherlands are gullible? Really?
This is not a great example. We had a referendum. Ukraine wanted to sign an association treaty so that they could work. They could stay in Europe for 90 days. They could even work, and they can go back. They can travel easier. They have. It will be easy to make trade agreements, and the European Union has
cooperation.
A bit more cooperate on. I believe on a more financial and industrial level. So that's why there was this association treaty agreement. So all European nations signed, but it has to be unanimous, right? Every country has to sign, but the Netherlands did not sign, and that was because
the Netherlands also didn't sign the constitution contract, right?
I don't know anyway, but for this agreement, there was one sort of group of people. They go under some name, and they said, no, we don't want Ukraine to join the European Union. This is some sort of agreement that is before this. Before joining European Union, this is one of these agreements that they have to sign, and this is just one step closer to them joining European Union. But Ukraine is totally corrupt. You don't want any of them in Europe.
This is true.
You don't want. So basically, they portrayed an image of Ukraine joining European Union, which was not at hand. It was not a.
No, but it sounds like they are pretty accurate.
No, they were not.
Ukrainians I've spoken to say the same thing. Yes, the official policy would be, or the political interest would be for Ukraine to join the European Union. But nowadays Ukraine is so corrupt that even the Ukrainians can't get a hold of it.
But that's in this agreement. It was also stated that they would receive help on reforming their government to make it less corrupt. So it is. Nothing. It was nothing about them joining European Union. Anyway, it was portrayed by this group that this Netherlands was going to sign this this stuff. So anyway, more and more people ask like, is Ukraine going to join European Union if Netherlands is going to sign this agreement? No, disagreement that was at hand.
Yeah.
So basically, parties were like, okay, getting a bit populist, also saying that maybe we should inquire a bit about this agreement. Maybe we should add like an extra page to this agreement that it's not them joining European Union.
Yeah.
But it was already like that. There was no promise that they would. So basically, politicians said, okay, you coalition, you should go to Brussels and make sure that there is an extra page that says that they're not joining European Union.
Okay.
Whereas there wasn't any intention like that. So basically they were sent there with some hollow description of what to do. Because the referendum was asked, or was like initiated by this group. They collected enough signatures from Dutch people by saying, did you know Ukraine wants to join European Union and is going to if we sign this agreement, which was not true at all. But they collected enough signatures and basically they got a referendum. So referendum took place, and referendum minimum is 35 or 30%. Let's say 30% of the people has to vote. So there were it was an enormous group of people that said, yeah, wait, this referendum has been initiated under the wrong or false ideas, because this is not what we're voting for, right? This is wrong. And then there was a group of people that thought what these people that initiated the referendum was correct, that which was basically just a lie. But and they voted, and all the other people said, okay, if you don't vote, it's also not valid, this referendum, you can forget about it. Just like Brexit. It was just I think a year before Brexit. Just like Brexit. We don't vote, we just hope that it won't be valid, we won't reach this 30%, this minimum limit. What happened? The referendum got 32% or so, like a few percent more, in which I think 55 or maybe 60% voted against. So 55% of 30% or maybe 32% of the people said, okay, we don't want, and most of them said, we don't want Ukraine to join European Union. But that was not what this whole thing was about. Anyway, the coalition was bound to, because they were all populists, they said before the result of the referendum, we are going to honor the result of the referendum.
Which was honorable.
Even though it's 30%, they don't say we're going to honor it more if it's 70% turnout or 30. Well, there's quite a difference between them. Anyway, they said we're going to honor it, and all the parties followed one after another. Oh, we're going to honor it.
See, your political process works.
No, it doesn't, because they've been framed by some group of people under the false incentives to start a referendum that was voted for, not even by maybe 20% of the total number of people said, this is probably wrong. Most of them also didn't know anything about the association treatment agreement. So basically, if you say people in Netherlands can not easily be persuaded into something stupid, but they have been.
Well, look at it this way.
And it created so much trouble. So this basically, to finish the story about how it ended, they could not add like another page because it was signed by all of European Union, and it would not add anything because it was not an agreement to enter European Union. So they had to come with empty hands, say we want nothing, because what we want is already not in this agreement. So basically they stalled to sort of, I don't know, honor the result of the referendum, say okay, we're trying to change it, we're working on it, and in the end they just signed after a year. So because they couldn't do anything, there was also no clear message on what they should do.
So wait a second, they signed it?
Yeah, in the end they signed it, even though referendum said, according to that referendum,
well, technically
it's one vague mist of
yeah, but technically it sounds like the referendum was actually respected, because the referendum, when it says about the specific page,
we shouldn't sign. The referendum was not signing.
Specifically about not signing that paper. Well then, that's the total opposite then.
Yeah, so so basically that doesn't matter. You can persuade people easily to do.
Well, but look at it this way. I mean, even though your referendum said one thing, in the end you did another. But Britain didn't do that. I mean,
no, maybe Britain should have had.
I mean, Britain had the referendum, and they are pursuing that course.
It's funny that the same thing happened. That many people thought, this we better not vote. Maybe we can get under this limit.
But see,
anyway, this referendum was so much of a flaw for the entire, for all political parties.
Doesn't sound like a flaw.
Well, because they
trusted
into something that didn't work.
The voters were passive. basically. The voters
Yeah,
who
because they saw
would
that
have changed
it was not fair.
were passive.
So what they did, they abolished the referendum. It's gone because
You
of
mean
this.
for that type of your questions?
Yeah, referendum completely. It's gone because of this joke.
No, come on. Are you saying that the Netherlands cannot have any referendums anymore? That's probably not true.
I believe it's not possible anymore. No, it's abolished because it was just a mess. Yeah. There's this party that fought for decades for this referendum. They finally got it. This happened, and it's gone. Yeah. That's what happens.
Sounds a little bit suspicious. Maybe they're just limited.
The
topics.
The referendum that happened is not possible anymore.
Yeah, well, that type of referendum, sure.
Yeah,
but other referendums could be possible for other things.
Not of that.
Because that would mean.
I'm not sure, but
because that would mean that the citizens of the Netherlands have been stripped of their rights to vote for certain matters.
Well, the referendum that is valid with this limit of 30% or so. Actually, you can collect signatures and give them or whatever. But a referendum of that form, where you get this limit of 30 or 35%, and it becomes so to say valid, and political parties have to have a look at it and reconsider. That is not possible. It's gone.
All right, but referendums in general could be possible just in another context, right?
I don't know. I don't think so. Perhaps, surely you can collect and state your problem.
The way you describe it sounds that they just made it harder.
No, it's
made the requirements more.
No. That form is really gone.
All right.
It's
all right. But somewhere there might be another referendum for another topic.
Surely you can ask for some attention, but this national voting scheme, I don't know. It cannot be initiated the same way. So.
But you are actually for that, right? That it's not possible.
There's two things, because in one way you see that people are going to be manipulated so easily, and secondly you see then that political parties don't know really how to handle. You want to remain popular.
Well, it's difficult,
There's quite a dilemma there. So referenda are not in that sense. They can be used to the wrong for the wrong goals. But anyway, like you say, it's good to at least at some points.
You had the discussion at least.
Yeah, well, at least it's necessary to at some point, if necessary, to stop decision making and inquire the people. It may be useful at some point.
Well, are you saying that somewhere along the line you should be?
Well, if they take some very poor decision.
Confident in the representatives?
No, I say that the referendum has also good advantages, right? At some point,
it's a check. It's a double
exactly.
check.
So, but then if it is misused in this way, it doesn't really give to show that it's a good instrument. I think it is, but there should be more regulations around it to avoid what happened in the Netherlands with this association treatment agreement.
Because I usually say that the fact that people are not so keen on going to the referendum or voting in general is just a reflection of their wealth. I mean, if you would be so miserable in your everyday life, you would probably cling for any opportunity to state your anger, in a sense, especially if you have the right to vote.
Yeah, but what you describe is.
If you are comfortable, why would you bother?
Yeah, well, what you describe is
just turn on Netflix.
Yeah, maybe. What you describe is not wealth. Is if you're involved or not. You're involved in making in gaining wealth by voting for A or B, but you're not involved in driving 130 on highways or so. If you have no wealth, why are you interested in that? Nobody cares, or you don't care. It's if you're involved in the matter or not. And many people are not involved. That's why also we have a democracy with politicians.
Why aren't they involved? That's the question. Because if they would be involved, there should be some reason, right? And I would argue that the reason most of the time is that because they feel affected by almost every decision, politically, economically, socially, culturally, right? But if they don't feel affected, it means that they are so, in a sense, well off in their everyday living that they don't feel the need to pursue these types of scenarios, right? I mean, whether or not somebody will get association agreement or not, I don't care. I'll get my salary. I'll buy my phones and shoes. Still, I don't really feel that connection. Whereas if that association agreement would be somehow associated with him getting a higher salary, he would be more interested in it. Right?
Yeah, but you mainly describe if you're involved or not.
Involved? In what sense? Politically?
No, if it you talk about if it affects you or not. So
yes,
the same.
But
way.
But what I mean is not evolved. I mean literally something something that affects your well-being.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're involved, if it affects you, you're part of it. Of the.
But why do you say evolved?
Involved.
Involved.
Yeah, involved.
Yeah, but the fact that involves you is your self-interest. That's what I mean.
Yeah, okay. But
and what does constitute your self-interest for most parts is material wealth.
No.
For most part. Look, if you put the Maslow pyramid, right?
Okay.
It's not like nothing is there and then you are.
Yeah, okay. Because we live in a materialistic world, then this is. Wealth gives access to a lot of things, So it's high up,
So if that voting would be directly linked to that material wealth, I think everybody would go vote to go participate in referenda.
Okay. Yeah. But that's how you describe if you're affected or not.
Yeah. So I would say that still the thing you described, yes, it represents some, let's say, dents in the road, but still the process overall sounds better than almost anybody's.
It's good that
you had your checks, you had your discussions, you had your debates, you had your confusions and also mismanagements, but in the end you decided I suppose what's in the interest of the majority.
Maybe
sounds like it.
Yeah.
But speaking about the constitution, in 2004,
the whole thing died slow.
Yeah,
silent death.
See, that's my point. When I say nothing gets done over here, for instance, you say everything gets done, but in a slow manner, right? So it's a difference of matter. It's not a degree. It's a matter.
That you're happy with the example that there's a possibility to adjust and that you can.
Yeah, your political process sounds quite reasonable.
Well, I just wanted to the why I told it is that these people you can manipulate them, so you have a problem always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, do you think that there could be changed?
I think if you would add the question, I'm pretty sure if you would add the question to this referendum, could you point out Ukraine on the map? It would have been pretty okay.
Well, why that?
Because people didn't know where Ukraine is.
But why would they?
Ukraine was probably.
But why would they be interested in where Ukraine is? I mean, that's not really the matter of the question.
To be part of decision making is to be informed.
Only but geography is not really.
No, it's just maybe more. I don't know. Maybe you should ask a more constructive question. But anyway, you wish people to be informed when they make a decision.
Well, that's your let's say.
How would you?
Your matter of preparation. I mean, you want people to be actually competent about what they are talking about, right? In some form, but it's just usually it's more of a moralistic and emotional vote than a rational one.
Yeah. Often it is. Yeah.
So, I would say if you would like to have those people more involved. Maybe that the only way to be successful is to get actually their emotional attachment to the outcome. Because if they don't feel the emotional attachment, they don't care. Not about where Ukraine is, not about if they have the association
emotional decision making is not, I don't know, a good way to.
Well, but look at it this way: politics is almost only emotional decision making. Politics is just basically, well, I feel like it.
Yeah.
So that's why I want it.
I doubt it.
Well, but there is no scientific politics. It's all irrational. I mean, you can decide for this or that. You can decide black or white. You don't have any God-given prescriptions.
No, but let's say I don't know about the car. So let's say researchers found out that it's best to drive only 100 kilometers at highways, because if you go from 100 to 120, you pollute twice more. So again, about pollution, but let's say this 20 kilometers differs a lot in terms of pollution. So a report appears from this national I don't know, infrastructure or the research institute, and they give it to politics and say, okay, this is like what we found. You can maybe think about it and have some. See, that's the thing, right? They check, the research is done on if things work, if laws work or not, and they get feedback and they adjust. Unfortunately, not everything, but they adjust.
Well, but they don't have any moral obligation to do so. It's just that if they feel that their well-being, so to speak, is dependent on whether or not they do pay attention to these type of researches, then they might do something. But if they could actually detach their well-being from the fact that they ignore it, they would do so. Because if they're not personally interested in it, and they don't have if they don't have any downside by ignoring the research, why would they care?
Well, it's not. It's also part. It's not their own personal interest. It's also the party interest, right? You want to.
Well, it's the look at it this way.
The years as a party.
The moral I try to make is that the politics sphere of the world is just related to power. Right? Whether or not you have power over somebody. So the way how you get and sustain that power is really dependent on the culture. Yes, in some places you don't really need to care about the people because you maybe are in a mafia, for instance, right? So you just need to care about the guns and somebody coming for you, right? But in other places, maybe you have to be concerned about what the well-educated populace will think if you don't do it or do it, right? So, but still, in the political sphere, in the political realm, you're just concerned about the power, about your well-being, right? Of having some form of control. And if something creates a risk for that control, then of course you will sort of adapt. But it's just because of your self-Machiavellian interest. It's not because you are altruistic and I'm working for the people. That's nonsense.
No, I see that you're saying, but the world you describe is very grim. And
it's the jungle.
I refuse to believe that all politicians in the Parliament of the Netherlands are thinking like that.
But you know how you could actually test that? Just don't pay them any public money.
Socialist Party members.
No salaries, nothing from the state.
They don't receive anything. They put all the money they get from the government into something else, into I don't know, party pot or whatever. So they're not there for the money. Except
if they get some outside funding, then they are.
They're good, yeah. Well,
I mean, what did the liberals get in bed with the Unilever people?
Yeah, because
they had some dollar signs in their eyes.
They see their jobs flourishing there. Yeah, but I don't know this. But nonetheless, I refuse to believe that you say that they all are in for their own interest.
It's usually the case that there's just a difference in degree of how, in what shape or form the people actually declare their self-interest. Because yes, there are people who are just ruthlessly admitting, I'm in it for myself, I don't care about others. You have those people. And then sometimes you have people who are willing to actually portray a more moralistic self, but in reality it's them basically just satisfying their own ego.
But satisfying your own ego is this ego is part sort of describes also your ideology. Yeah. Well, so let's move then to this. We have this party animal, party for the animals.
Party animal. That would be nice.
They are sitting there to protect animal rights.
Yeah.
What's the interest? Well, they are just, I don't know, they're vegan, they don't fly a plane.
Are they vegan?
Yes, stuff like that.
Really?
So I refuse to believe that they are just there for their own interest. No, they are there to protect.
Yeah, but usually you have many vegans who are really dicks, right? Socially.
I think there are more dicks that are non-vegan because there are far more non-vegans in the world. So I don't think how that will change the matter. Well, anyway, if you are from a Green Party or this party for the animals, it becomes even harder to believe that they're there only for their own interest.
No, but look, the way how to actually prove that everybody is in it for the same reasons is just that the degree to which they are admitting it or the path that they are choosing is different, is the way to look at it from the opposite side. So what are they not aiming at? And so no political party in the Netherlands is stating, I want total genocide, right? I want to eradicate all the people in the Netherlands, for instance, or I want to destroy the infrastructure. Nobody is saying that. I don't see
where this is going.
Well, because that will be against their interests. Because their interest is to feel comfortable. It's just that they have differences in what type of circumstances make those people feel comfortable. But they are still watching the world through their own prism.
Of course they are, but it's a very poor argument to say that your point is only proven until someone says, I want to sink this country into the abyss.
Because you are saying, look, I refuse to believe that everybody is just in it for themselves. That was your statement. I'm saying everybody is in it for themselves. It's just that everybody chooses a different path, how to acknowledge their self-interest, and maybe along the way other interests get also executed and taken care of. But it doesn't really mean that the interest of those persons who did it was actually to provide for other people. Their main interest was to provide for them, for their interests, and that's just along the way you get some additional collateral benefit.
Now you're entering some gray zone, because you say your own interest as well as some common I don't know, national interest. These two, this zone. If my interest is that I want all the coal power plants to be closed, and instead I prefer, I don't know, tidal energy or perhaps wind farms or so. Not to because I own some, I don't know, Danish company which makes these propellers or whatever. No, because I think it's good to have clean air.
Yeah, and that's your self-interest.
Well, then in this sense, and there's nothing wrong with self-interest, because you portray it as a rather negative.
No. What I'm saying is, I don't portray it as in any connotation. I just portray it that the main reason people do what they do is because the thing they do is in their self-interest, and it's a matter of degree whether or not those people admit that they are working in their own self-interest, and just others are maybe benefiting as well, or not. Because yes, there are people who are actually reluctant to admit that they are actually self-centered narcissists.
Of course, yeah.
There are people who are just because what's the stereotypical portrait of a politician? Almost like a sociopath, right? He has no feelings for others. He just portrays an image just to manipulate with people. Well, that's the caricature of a politician.
Well, in Latvia, maybe
all over the world.
No, maybe in Latvia.
No, all over the world.
I think there's quite a lot of nuance there.
If you would need to portray a ruthless politician, right? I mean, a go-getter, right? It's always the caricature of a Mephistopheles almost.
I understand that you see them as half people or so, but then describe self-interest is then the wrong word. I would say people they act to make the things happen they find important.
That is self-interest.
Yeah. No, I would not say it's.
Look at it this way. I can explain with an example of mine personally. My self-interest is to not have any enemies, but to have most people, or as much people as possible, be willing, let's say, to advance my interests as well, right? So how do I do that? One is to actually go and ask you, so what do you need? Can I help you, right? The other thing is, all right, just do my work, do my things, and let's say you come and say, can you help me with this? Sure, yeah, I have time, I can help you with that. And maybe along the way, sometime I would have to actually ask you for help. And so I know, because maybe in the future I would need some help, maybe, just maybe, right? You would be more inclined to help me if I had helped you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But in those scenarios where I for sure would know that I won't see you again, I would think twice or thrice I'm not wasting my time with you, right? So it's the reciprocity of the whole social realm that gives my self-interest actually a benefit to your self-interest. And so we have a common interest. So the common interest is to have people who are willing to help each other, for instance, right?
I understand. Yeah.
But the main particle of that all is the drive of self-interest.
But it is a very mundane thing to say.
Well, but I mean that's the reality of that's the nature of many things. It's mundane
but
many times.
Well, it's just you do what you find important. Okay.
So what creates that importance to you? Your feelings. You can say you have some form of knowledge, but that form of knowledge,
information.
But that form of knowledge actually, in the end, just creates a sort of an emotional profile for you, because you have lots of times during the, I don't know, probably past 200 years, doomsday sayers, right? They know that the end is coming, right? For some strange reason, they have read something in a religious book or whatever, and they know that the end is coming, right? So they are sort of convinced that something will happen. Whereas if you hear what they say, just think they're crazy.
Yeah, because I decide based on information.
Yeah,
I read it, then I say,
but they have
this
the
is maybe a bit odd, maybe I can ask about that, maybe
but they have the same potential to get the same information.
Yeah, but
right?
they have a different mindset.
Viewpoint, yes, that's what I mean.
They're not educated in the sense that they don't ask the right questions, and it's very difficult to ask the right questions.
Well, see, we did that. We did that experiment in the Soviet Union by thinking, if everybody just understands, everything will run smoothly.
Yeah, well,
it's just not happening. I mean, because everybody agrees communism is a great idea. It's a great idea, but the execution somehow didn't work out.
Not just there.
Right, so that's what I mean. And capitalism, for that reason alone, is just more efficient because it acknowledges the self-interest of people working together as well. But still, it acknowledges the fact that people actually are interested in, first of all, preserving themselves, and then afterwards, fulfilling their needs and desires. And then they understand if they do so without the respect for others and their interests, they might just get hurt. Right. So, and that's not in their self-interest, and they figure out what would be, and the next step, the next best thing is to actually cooperate, in a sense that you don't have any enemies.
Of course, the self-interest is pretty much ruled and created by everything around you. So laws, for instance. So
sort of.
It's not something intrinsic that just appears. You can make it.
What?
This self-interest, what you find important.
Well, I'm not sure, because I think you are talking about the age-old philosophical discussion whether or not people have free will.
No, I wasn't really.
No, but it sounds like you are getting close to that one.
Okay. No, I was just saying that if you, let's say you make stealing okay, you can consider it as an addition to enrich your self-interest. Well, if you make it prohibited, well, you cannot. See, you can steer the self-interest in a way.
Which You mean by punishment?
Yeah, you can fine it or jail sentence. Or,
Yeah, but if punishment would be a factor for people not stealing, then people wouldn't steal, even with harshest punishments. But they do.
Well, I think it's.
So it's not really related to.
I'm just saying that it is the ruling factor, but you can steer things.
Let's put it. I know what you mean, but let's put it this way: the inevitability of punishment would be some form of factor to actually for somebody not stealing. Yes, but because you can write a lot of things in the books, right? For what happens if you do this or that, but if those are not effectively enforced, people will just see that there's no real downside to that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So anyway, would you say that those were only the real major problems? Because still, I hold my case. Except one. You don't fulfill one stereotype about Dutch people.
Oh, really?
Which is being tall.
I'm quite average.
Yeah.
But here I feel alright.
I don't say you are small, but the Dutch usually are tall.
They are, yeah. They're
I don't get it. Is it because they eat a lot of dairy products?
Oh yeah, there's some bunch of theories about that. I'm not really sure.
Because I mean, basketball is definitely not the most popular sport in the Netherlands.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no. Football is, right?
Yeah. And ice skating and hockey.
All right, ice skating, you're right. And the reason for ice skating was because the canals just froze and it was a transportation way?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, already in paintings from, the 16th century or so, you can see people ice skate. So it's, maybe it's some sort of tradition. That's just like ice hockey here is very popular.
Sort of, yeah.
Well, in the Netherlands, I don't think you have a team in ice hockey or basketball. At least I don't know any. So,
well, it's a little bit different. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to understand how come that you don't really play so much basketball, because you have tall, athletic people all over.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Netherlands doesn't have a lot of fat people, right?
Oh, surely there are. Yeah,
but a lot.
It's growing all over Europe. This obesity.
But a lot. Would you say a lot?
I would say so, yeah. Well, okay, I can only state this empirically, but okay, there are a lot of fat people, but surely I think in the UK and Germany it's worse. When I look around, okay, this is not very scientific or so, but okay.
No, but I mean, I mean, your observation is valid still.
Yeah, but a bit biased, so.
In what sense?
Well, that I have not taken a proper sample of these countries by going everywhere.
No, I mean, once people, for instance, go to America, they are pretty confident in saying, a lot of fat people.
Perhaps, but still the same.
So it's the same. It's the same because it's usually the case in financial auditing, right? You don't have the physical option of actually having all of the information, all of the data.
Of course, by likely
you have to sort of almost cherry pick, but you try to cherry pick as objectively as possible. So in a social context, that would mean you just look around.
I've just looked around.
You just look around in the most crowded places, for instance, right?
Yeah, you could say sense. I looked around, and the likelihood is larger if there are more fat people. I see people with obesity, then I would also see them. Just by chance more. Yeah.
What's the popular name for a woman in the Netherlands? Because I would imagine it would be Antje.
Antje? No, not at all.
Because I imagine just a blonde Antje with a cheese roll.
Yeah, really, and
those wooden shoes.
The clogs. No, not really. No.
So what is the popular?
This is like the picture you get from Amsterdam, I guess. And from this tours you can get the
sort of and windmill in the background.
The windmills also, yeah, that's typical. I don't know why that is so interesting. It's a bit simple.
Well, it's a sort of almost like a romantic picture.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But are there a lot of blonde people in the Netherlands? Should be, right?
I think it's a bit similar to here. Maybe
Sort of, might be, yeah. Because we are
I think it's very much.
I think we are all in the blonde people region.
Ah.
I think the blonde people region was basically around the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, is that so?
Scandinavia, draw around the circle, Poland, Germany. I think Benelux should be there, and yeah, maybe a little bit of Czech Republic also, somewhere around there. Anyway.
Why so? It strikes you when you go elsewhere?
What do you mean?
Oh, why are you asking? I wonder.
About blondes?
Yeah.
Well, just crossed my mind. So speaking about the Antje, because Antje is blonde, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
See? It's like if you would imagine a Swedish biscuit, right? You would see probably a small blonde child on the package.
Ah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Just stereotypes. Stereotypes. Because am I wrong in thinking that cheese is almost as popular as in France?
Well, we only have yellow cheese. In France, they have all this white.
They have smelly
soft,
cheese. Smelly cheese.
Yeah,
but I mean,
you have to wrap them up.
But Swiss people and Dutch people like cheese, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of cheese. It's sold here also. Not the same, but Gouda.
Gouda?
Gouda.
Gouda, yeah.
This is Dutch city actually.
Yeah.
So that name is pretty popular. We eat a lot of cheese, but that's mostly because we also eat. I would say that we also eat a lot of bread. So people would eat bread in the morning. Okay, they could eat yogurt or so, or some porridge. But people also eat bread in the morning for lunch. Surely they eat bread, and sometimes for dinner also. And then this bread's like a slice, and then we put on cheese or some, I don't know, some ham or maybe some Nutella, so peanut butter, and then there are 10 other thousand things you could put on it. So it's a lot of this.
But are there any specific Dutch dishes that I should be aware of?
That you should be aware of? No, not really. No, have you ever seen a Dutch restaurant abroad? I haven't. Not ever in my life. Never. No.
Because I would imagine you have a sort of an international cuisine, influenced by your neighboring countries and also your former colonies.
So what's the German cuisine then?
Sort of like Polish.
Sauerkraut and some sausages.
Sauerkraut is definitely a staple.
Yeah, but it's not. You cannot really make a dish out of it. Yeah, you could.
You could. Yeah, you just make pork. You just make pork.
That's it. No, it's.
Yeah, I mean, meat and potatoes is common in many places. For sure.
So that's what I'm saying. We have a lot of mashed potato.
But for instance, the soup culture is very different from Eastern Europe, for instance, compared to Western Europe. Soup culture is different. And it really shows that Western Europeans haven't really eaten that type of soups. Yeah. So that will be.
We have one soup that is like is a pea soup, so with green peas and meat and carrot and potato. That's a sort of national thing, I would say, but I think you can maybe find it here also.
Because botanically, you could say that the tulip is very representative of the Netherlands, right?
Yeah, it is. It is flowers in general, right?
Probably
lots of flowers. Just also from the land, agricultural product in a sense, flowers. No. But I learned that they're from Turkey actually.
Tulips?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess everything that's common nowadays is mostly from somewhere else. Because nowadays I think...
But it's from many hundred years ago that they imported it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, probably even the Vikings traveled with some form of imports, I guess. Because I've heard of, let's say, that South America produces the most coffee beans in the world. Yeah. But its origins are in Africa, for instance. So how did they get there? Yeah, who knows.
Okay.
But at some point in time, some voyagers just...
Potato is also from South America.
Yeah, that's the opposite way around. Yeah, the potatoes were from I think Peru, and then yeah, and I guess a lot of Dutch people had something to do with it because a lot of Dutch were voyagers.
Yeah, or colonists, traders.
Yeah, yeah. Wait a second. One last question. Did the Netherlands have some diamond city quarter where the trade of diamonds is very common?
Not that
Or
I
was
know.
was that in Belgium?
Not sure. No, not that I know. I don't know which part of the world.
No, because I'm thinking that Antwerpen was famous for diamond trade.
Could be. Yeah, could be. Maybe from.
I thought there was almost like a famous city block with Jewish people, a lot of Jewish people,
Yeah, I think
and
it's
a lot
in
of diamonds.
Antwerp or Brussels. Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I read in one book that there was a sort of an idea that the Dutch started to actually flourish as a country, economically, politically, only when the Jews traveled to there.
Ah, okay.
Because they were forced out by I don't know some other countries because of whatever religious or political reasons, and so they fled to the Netherlands. And then the Netherlands prospered, and then the British king did some reforms and sort of made it more attractive, and then the Jews just traveled from the Netherlands to the British Islands. And then they started to prosper. Yeah, and then afterwards,
and then they won the war.
and then afterwards, yeah, America took it over. No, sort of. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but as far as I know, the Netherlands is pretty multicultural, right?
Well, I wouldn't. More than Latvia, I would say.
For sure. I mean, you have different skin colors, right? You have different probably. Wait a second. How much do Dutch people speak other languages? How common is let's say?
Okay, so school. Okay, for me, because school has changed, new courses and so on. But for me, it was primary school. You go from 4 to 12. Not really any language. In the last year, they started saying, okay, maybe English is useful. So I had like a bit of English when I was.
Wait a second. You started primary school at 4?
Yeah.
What?
It's 8 years, 4 to 12 years old.
Yeah, but you have.
Yeah, so you could say like the first 2 years.
Do you have
like
kindergarten?
Sort of kindergarten, but it's the same school. It's just the first 2 classes that you play with blocks and so on.
Let's put it this way: how many classes or how many years do you go to school before you can go to university? It's usually 12, right?
8 plus 6.
Oh,
but this kindergarten is sort of the first 2 years of this primary school. It's the same. So, but everybody goes to school basically.
I guess. All right, yeah.
So, okay, but when I was 12, they said maybe it's good to introduce English. Well, it was a mess. Then you go to secondary school. It's basically you don't have thing like high school or so. It's 6 years or 5 years or 4 years based on how practically you are minded, so to say. If you are more theoretically minded, you can learn a bit more and then go to uni. So basically, I did 6 years.
Oh, wait a second. That's almost like same as in Germany. That at a certain age you will get almost like sorted out, and then nobody, if somebody gets into the I don't know which category, but afterwards wants to actually go to university, he has to study for another year, and then he can go because he has to compensate for something.
Yeah, if you want to move up,
Which sounds crazy to me.
May need another year, but
because we just go to either the 12th year of school, which would be the end of the secondary school, or after primary school we could go actually to learn a profession and get the same secondary school education at the same time, and then but in both cases we could go to university afterwards. We don't have any special
It's hard. It's not the way to go lower level, because everything is also more practical in a sense. Mathematics is not so not the same level of physics, chemistry. These things you do that for 4 years at another level. So doing university after is you can. I mean, but it's not possible to make it.
But having experience in the Netherlands and Latvia, do you see any difference on how much, let's say, you would need many of the, let's say, theoretical knowledge you gained in primary and secondary school? Because I always felt that most of it was pretty garbage. In the sense that I don't really do mathematic formulas that much. Right.
No, but it maybe find it a bit hard to defend, but you need certain you need to be able to get your way around with numbers somehow.
Well,
so
I'm not saying you don't need any arithmetic, but I'm saying at one point in time that's a lost cause.
Maybe, but it's important that you familiarize yourself with what's out there. So it's not that you have to become an expert or you have to remember for the rest of your life.
But wouldn't you say?
But if I would not be familiarized with the history classes of, I don't know, or economy, or the mathematics that may be completely useless later because I want to do something else. If I had not been familiarized with these things, I can also not make a good choice on what I want later. And if that's a bit back to earlier discussion. You need to have some information.
But wouldn't you say that that's an old paradigm for education? Because nowadays, most of the time, your educator is just Google. So, but nobody actually taught you in school how to properly Google something. It's just something you do. Once you are not sure about something, you just Google it.
Not in a way, but the way my professors, at least a good number of them, taught me, I would never be able to find on the internet. And also part of it is inspiration and discussion.
Those are some narcissistic professors you got there, I guess. So what kind of mystic information, esoteric information do they have?
No, it's just that they show you how they think and how they go through certain problems. It's very much maybe possible also on the internet to do that, but I haven't found it.
Because think about it this way: the things that those professors actually educate you on, they could do it in a more efficient way, having let's say an instructional video course, right? And then not just you, but also millions of other people can gain that knowledge.
Perhaps,
but then it wouldn't be so seclusive. It would be out in the open.
Yeah, that is what what is it? A MOOC, more online open massive course.
There are some types of
the system that is being set up by universities.
It's just that that's an educational bureaucracy almost. That those people.
Yeah, well, I think it's also very good to put these videos online and.
But do your professors do that?
At my university, most lectures are recorded, so I could, even if I would not be present, watch it from home or watch it later.
Are they available
from other studies also?
In what form are they available? On your university platform?
You can just go to the internet and then I believe you have to log in. Yes,
that's what I'm asking.
Because I pay tuition fee, I pay the professor in a way.
Because you have your own university platform.
But at the same time, I'm saying that they do create these courses and put them on this MOOC.
That's good.
And try to. I think many universities are transforming this system a bit.
And it's being used regularly?
No, it's just for people that are not close to the uni where I studied. They can follow it online, and then there are some student assistants. They do provide some feedback. There are some forums, so they do provide popularize the uni by.
But is it being used and updated?
Yeah, it's like a course. You follow it. You
because we in universities we do have also those student portals for certain universities, right? But many times what you notice is that those people in the university administration, they don't really update it that much. So after a while, you see that actually let's say the professors, if they have something, they just send it out through email. They don't really bother to update it in the specific portal. And so even though theoretically you have that option, right? You have that platform to use and to create that kind of environment. It's just that there were old people that they're not that technically savvy or interested to actually do the upkeep, and so they just send out an email. And I like the fact that you said that you are recording the lectures, or that the lectures are being recorded, because I'm missing.
All, of course, but a lot.
Not all.
Yeah, because there's so many lectures taking place.
No, but see how easy it would be. I mean, how much does it take to have a webcam, for instance, right? I mean, you could record all of the lectures.
There's a sort of transition, but of course the universities are still in the system or in the setup that they provide lectures to students that are physically there. So I understand that they're not switching just like that from one day to another.
Do you feel that it's changing in the sense that let's say now you have those tuition fees right established in the Netherlands? Do you see also some progress with that in some advancement technologically and more efficiently for the education in general?
Well, you can find a lot of things online. The university provides a lot of information, but I don't know. I haven't studied like 10 years ago and now again, so it's a bit hard to say something like that. But what I do see that a lot of good things you see on the internet. Just like you point out, you can find lots of YouTube videos, you can find websites that provide you all sorts of papers or books you need to help you with that, and that amount is only growing. So maybe in a sense the university becomes less as it is now. It will like change for sure, but nonetheless you say you can Google everything. I find it still I don't know, it's hard to say, but I find it critical that I've learned at school to learn how to think, how to
don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you could Google everything, because there are things that like experience or certain skills that you cannot Google, but what I'm saying is that you can have actually those people with the experience and with the skills, actually, if they are interested and if they are progressive enough, they can actually methodologically have some form of transfer mechanism into the realm of digital content. It's possible. It's just that whether or not you, as a skilled lecturer, for instance, whether or not you are actually interested in gaining that new competence and actually creating that content and creating that opportunity, right? Because nobody's paying you extra to do that, right? It's not like somebody would motivate you with additional money. It's not that. If you are interested in teaching and distributing your information the most efficient way, you would be interested in actually, how do I do that, right? And then you just take it from there. So that's why I asked you so much, because it sounded like you are at least 2 steps ahead of, let's say, the common Latvian university platform. Because we have those platforms. It's just that they are sometimes more, but many times less used by the administration themselves. And so what's the point then? No real benefit for that. Anyway, it's been 2.5 hours. I guess we both are a little bit exhausted. So any end comments about the Netherlands, Latvia?
I just want, you asked at the very beginning any things you notice, right? The differences between the Netherlands and Latvia. I believe you asked in the beginning, like, well, what do you think about the 2 countries when you put them together? I was wondering if you, surely you've been abroad. I was wondering if you see any differences when you walk through the market in another country. I was wondering what you perceive.
I think I've been into a market only in Poland. I may be mistaken, but I haven't been to so many markets that I could tell a big difference. Because I usually consider all the modern grocery stores as markets.
No, I mean here's at the.
You mean the central market?
Yeah, central tables.
Well, I guess it's a little bit specific. It might be different in other countries, but surely other countries have lots of markets in general. So if you ask me whether or not I've seen major differences,
if you
not really, but I haven't checked out so many markets. I just know that this location, this type of infrastructure for a market is very unusual in Europe. That's what I've heard. Right, but I mean, you can buy apples in many places.
No, what I find interesting, I go there like to buy lunch or whatever, and try a bit of Latvian or so. But what I find interesting is when I go there is that it's very very quiet. It's very quiet.
In what sense?
Nobody tries to sell their stuff. You're just walking there and they're watching you and they're not saying if you walk under the like in some touristic place elsewhere, they would say come to my shop, come to see what I have this to sell. Maybe.
I thought that's the case only in fisher markets. I thought that was the stereotype of fisher markets.
Oh no! If you
come here, I have this one, and I'll put another one. I must be crazy.
And then also towards the end of the day, you want to get rid of your stuff, right? You don't want to take it all with you, so you say like, okay, 3 for 2, or maybe 50% off, or you can get this if you buy this product. All these things.
That's a real market. What we have is
no, but also like in the Netherlands, if you buy flowers or fruits or so, they would try to sell it. They would shout.
But maybe there's a difference. Do you say that those people who try to advertise and try to actually increase their revenue, are they the owners of the particular place that they sell? Because those people in the central market usually are not. They are just. Imagine if you go into a small grocery shop and you see a woman at the counter. You probably already know. Oh, she's probably not the owner of this grocery store, right? Yeah. So that's the same scenario.
So all the people there are not owners.
Most of them are not. No.
Even the ones standing outside.
No, many of them are. But most of them are either non-citizens that wouldn't be able to actually get any official other job
from Ukraine
or just residents who didn't apply for citizenship or are not speaking either Latvian or cannot go to the naturalization process. And some of them are just almost like salaried workers, and of course many farmers do actually just rent their space and go and sell their produce, for instance. But usually it's the case for them that they don't really need to advertise that much, because if somebody's interested, they'll just buy.
No, at the end of the day, it's rather still most people haven't sold everything.
Well,
and
it's difficult me to state whether or not it might be culturally related, or maybe they just do something else with it.
No, I was just wondering. I was just.
Well, it's an interesting concern. Yes, maybe it's just because you have let's say, because that scenario you described is what I feel is a real market, right? It's what's supposed to be. You go there and everybody wants to sell you something, and then you have to negotiate, and then you have to see what's the quality and all of that.
Yeah, a bit more of that. Yeah, it's very 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 silent.
Well, but what would you say? Would you like that also to be the case in the Netherlands, or would you like to see more of the Netherlands type of market?
I don't have a preference, but it's just odd for me when I walk there. So.
I think Japanese people like it.
Like what?
Many times Japanese people go to the central market.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of their pit stops.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Because usually when people travel to Latvia, they many times have only maybe a few nights in Riga,
Mm.
and so yeah, the central market is just so near that
Ah.
they always try to see that as well. And yeah, many times if you walk during the workday,
Mhm.
you'll see some Japanese tourists just strolling
okay.
around,
Uh-huh.
and I think they like it. I think Japanese people like quietness.
Maybe they were just they were Chinese or.
You know what? I sometimes think even though it's so stereotypical to say Asians look alike, I would say I could distinguish a Japanese tourist group from a Chinese one.
Ah, okay.
But maybe I'm just overestimating my talents. Because I've spoken to quite a lot Chinese because during the past 10 years we had at some point in time also golden visas.
Okay.
Which, if you're familiar with that, basically means that a foreigner could buy property and get a residence permit.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And we had that program for many years, and turned out that most of them were sold to Chinese people. And yeah, so Chinese moved in many places in Latvia, but then we basically betrayed them by asking not just for the buying of property and increasing the value that has to be bought,
okay.
but also establishing some regular payments. I think they introduced some yearly payments. So let's say you buy the property, you get the residence permit, but then every year you have to pay some I don't know how many thousands just to stay, right? So yeah, they just get screwed over. But yeah, it wasn't that bad for the economy in general, I guess. I mean, usually, when those people bought the property, it wasn't their first and only property. For most of them, it was almost like an investment object.
Yeah.
To just get into the EU.
Yeah.
Sort of. So yeah. So anyway, did you say that you had some political party in the Netherlands who was against immigration?
Yeah, of course.
But what type of immigration problem do you have over there? Because Syrians don't go to the Netherlands, right? They make a stop in Germany.
Yeah, somehow. No, it is European Union, right? So immigrants are, if everything would work normally, proportionally distributed across Europe. Well, even that is already too much.
So you have some refugees in the Netherlands?
Well, no, none of the countries are cooperating, right, in this redistribution process.
I don't know. I just know that Latvia didn't really bother much about the refugee crisis, right? And the funny thing is, no refugee wants to stay in Latvia.
So yeah,
they usually want to go to Sweden or somewhere where you have it a little bit more convenient, right? Socially, economically. Because here, literally, even not just the legal ones, but even the illegal travelers, the refugees, they don't want to stay in Latvia. It's just they are on their way either to Scandinavia or to Germany, from whichever direction. So yeah, we don't really bother with it that much.
No.
And we did have some political opinions that we also shouldn't be trying to get some refugees in a sense, but yeah, it wasn't really a big deal for us. We just know who wants to stay here in a sense. But even with all of that, I would say if I say the Netherlands is the best, I would say Latvia probably in the top 5.
In what sense?
In all of the same senses. It's just that the difference is this: all the Western economies, all the Western countries are very, very well established after the Second World War, right? It's a matter of degree whether or not they got destroyed or not.
On which side of the wall they were, or the curtain.
Yeah. But the basic point was this: after the Second World War, Western Europe or Western countries in general somehow developed quite rapidly, right? But with that came also a business entrenchment in politics, which means that, let's say in 2012 I was in Germany, and then the people told me, yeah, we have recently opened up the market for intercity buses. And I told them, well, we had intercity buses all the way, and they said, well, yeah, but for in Germany it was for the most time that the Deutsche Bahn had only the exclusive.
In Switzerland it's still like that.
Yeah. So, well, but they don't have the EU, right? Because in Germany it was the case, and then the European Court of Justice said, "Are you stupid? You are just basically manipulating the market." Right? So now they opened up, and it was something new for them, right? Which was quite odd to me, because we after we regained independence in '91, we had to build everything from almost scratch. We didn't have any entrenchment of business because the Soviet Union didn't have any real private businesses, right? So we just had the fresh start, starting from the 90s. The fresh start just established many opportunities that wouldn't have otherwise existed. It wouldn't be possible, right? Because if in Western countries, either generationally or just legally, you had some many forms of power circulating in the same hands, so to speak.
What do you mean?
Well, look at it this way. After the Second World War, probably many private businesses established not just their profitable business, but also their influence, right? And so the influence was inherited by the next generation of that same, let's say, family or dynasty, or just...
Yeah, but
it just carries on.
In a way, yeah.
And
the war was 5 years in the Netherlands only, so it's not that the war was 5 years in the Netherlands. It's not that everything from before was gone.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, of course, Germany had some more reparations to and restorations to do, for sure. But in the sense that still there was turmoil, right? And after the turmoil, now it's settled, right? Now it's almost, the foundation is there, and so it just builds, right? We didn't have that, so we came late to the game, right? But we were with more opportunities, right? It's not like we don't have this education system, right? Where at one point in time somebody says, yeah, you would probably go to this branch of the education system, not to this one. But if you later on decide to go to the university, then you need to go back for 1 year more, and then maybe I hadn't even heard of such a system. It was...
Well, it's not so complicated. You just do courses, and if you change
later... It was very confusing to me, because all I know is, yeah, you just go 12 years, and then afterwards you can go to university if you want.
But does everybody get the same level then? Does everybody do the same courses for 12 years?
No, if you still have some grades, right? You need to have your grades, right? But you have the same opportunities. What I mean, it doesn't really mean that you couldn't go some other way, but you have the opportunity to choose, and the opportunity is totally equal. If you have the grades, you have the choice. You don't have to put in another extra year or something like that to go.
Yeah, well, okay. So, but everybody has the same courses for 12 years then?
Well, not really. They differentiate at some point. They differentiate. Some are more mathematics based. Some are more commercially based, I guess. They differentiate based on, was it the grade level at some point? I don't know.
I see.
Yeah, but still, if you have the grades, still you can afterwards just go to the university and be fine. Right? And yeah, I remember talking to a German, and he liked that system better because he was talking about that he wasn't in a gymnasium, and so he wanted to go to university, and it made it more difficult because he wasn't in a gymnasium beforehand, something like that.
Yeah.
And I told him, well, over here we don't really care. We have gymnasiums, yes, but if you're not in a gymnasium, you just go still.
That's the focus you make. I mean, you drop some courses somewhere along the line, and you choose a level, so to say, in which you follow your courses.
Yeah.
And if that level is not enough for the university, you have to take another year to take the courses at the proper level. Yeah, it makes a sort of sense, I would say. It works for most people, but yeah, in some cases you need you spend an extra year.
The reasoning is definitely there. I'm not saying that it's totally superfluous, but I would argue that that's the biggest advantage living in Latvia. You have many times more opportunities and more efficient ways of doing things than it would be, because we complain about a bureaucracy, right? But when I went to Germany, I understood what bureaucracy is.
Okay, good.
So
that should go to Belgium.
It's the proportions, right? The proportions are different, and yes, with higher salaries, with higher living standards, they established not just better roads or infrastructure, but they also established the unpleasant things as well, many times more. Some bureaucracy would be one of those examples, right? And so over here is sort of a little bit more loose in many respects, right? So yeah, we need just to catch up with probably the mentality to get out of the Soviet mindset into the Western capitalist mindset, more or less. But to keep the equal opportunities, to keep the lean, or if you could say so, to keep the lean system. Because we complain about the system, but still it's nothing compared to some Western European countries when it comes to the different organizations and structures and levels of things to do. Yeah. So that's why I say Latvia. I would probably, because the major factor in saying that Latvia might be top 5 is because we also have fast internet. Which is also something in the 21st century you probably wouldn't even want to avoid, right? Fast internet is something that probably everybody is interested.
In Germany, you're not well off concerning internet.
Well, you have to pay for a lot of things, even for
I don't know why, but
nonsense internet.
I don't know why, but they're still installing copper on the ground. I don't know why. They're still relying on copper for new projects. I don't know why they switched when they will switch to fiber, but it will be
might be the case. Yeah. So that's why I would guess that Latvia might be top 5, right?
But it's your own country, so. Yeah.
But still, I'm saying, Dutch probably top of the line. Because you are sort of, I think Denmark is also quite good off, right? Quite well off in many respects, but I think Dutch people are more relaxed and more happy. Even though in the what's it, Gini index, or how's it called? Yeah, I think Denmark was ahead of the Netherlands.
Yeah, I did this.
But I'm not really paying too much
for
attention.
Children's happiness and stuff like that.
I don't pay too much attention. So that's my point of view. It didn't really change it.
So what are you going to do with this information? Live in Denmark for a while, and then Netherlands, and then?
Not really. I don't think they need me over there. But I would like to see some Dutch people in Latvia, though.
Well, I'm here until Wednesday.
Get your family. Get your family and friends.
They're very happy somehow in the Netherlands. So I don't know.
Because nowadays many people from European countries come to study in Latvia. Because the education level is fairly high, but the tuition fees many times may be lower. Because in other countries it's even more expensive, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Or there might be also the case that they don't really get in, as far as I know. I think some, for instance,
possible,
German medicine students, they don't get in the university in Germany, so they come to Latvia.
I heard about this.
Some like that.
I heard that I met a Dutch guy the other day, and he said that many Dutch students go here for dentistry.
In Latvia?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh.
But like these medical studies, they also usually completely full. All the spaces are taken. And, also you need higher grades, and if you don't meet these demands, you almost make no chance of getting in. So.
Well, I would say if you say that Dutch people are coming to Latvia, I say it's a good sign.
Well,
it's a good sign.
If you meet one and the person is studying here, you could guess dentistry first.
Yeah.
See if that's true or not.
We start with dentistry, and then we start taking over all the other industries. And in some years' time, you'll see Latvia being full of tulips.
Perhaps. Oh, that would look nice.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, it's been 3 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
So, all right, let's wrap it up. Okay. Thanks. And if you're around in Latvia sometime again, you can let me know.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.